And have I told you about our new takeout spot, Che Empanadas? It's right next to Sharky's. They have 20 different types of authentic Argentinian empanadas, and they are incredible, especially the breakfast ones. You gotta try it.
Sounds perfect. And how awesome is it that they're so close to each other?
Oh, it's perfect, all right.
Give them a try. Che Empanadas, House of Hops, Salt and Lime, and Sharky's. Just a hop, skip, and a jump from each other off Raleigh Road, Glenwood, and Grove Barton.
Aloha! Dreaming of sandy beaches and ocean breezes? JTV's Tropical Treasures Sweepstakes could make that dream come true. Enter for your chance to win a fabulous Hawaiian getaway for two with luxury accommodations, airfare, and spending cash. Plus, just for entering, get $30 off your next qualifying JTV purchase of at least $99 when you opt in for emails. Don't miss out. Visit jtv.com/sweeps and enter by August 3rd. JTV, where paradise awaits.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
In World War I, American fighter pilots covering a plane's rear position coined the phrase, "I've got your six," to mean I've got your back. Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org using the number 6.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it. But not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to Hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it.
That one back, that one going, gone!
Go to RitchieLaw.com.
That's RitchieLaw.com.
Broadcasting live from the Lenovo Studios. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. 99.9 The Fan. The Triangle Sports Leader.
Middle of the day on this Tuesday, temperatures in the upper 80s with highs in the low to mid 90s this afternoon. Most of our scattered storms arriving this evening, some rain lingering into Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, coolest in nearly a month, highs in the 80s. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the WRAL Severe Weather Center.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 3 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones up 435 points at 44,530.
It's The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. Graham Hill producing the show. It is free agent frenzy presented by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington. Graham, a lot has happened in the NHL, and there might be some more potential things that happen involving the Carolina Hurricanes. So let's jump right into it with the big three at 3.
Number 1.
Number 1 story, something that we know has officially happened, Graham. Logan Stankoven signing an 8-year contract extension with the Carolina Hurricanes. 8 years, $6 million a year. That's after, Graham. That's after he finishes the final year of his entry-level contract. So Logan Stankoven is going to be a Carolina Hurricane under contract, again, barring any trades or anything weird. Logan Stankoven is going to be a Carolina Hurricane for the next 9 years? The next 9 seasons. We're not going to stink for 9 years, but we're going to stank because we got stanky for 9 years, Graham.
And we get him in his prime, too, which is just an ideal scenario for the Carolina Hurricanes and their attack.
I love it. I feel that this contract, Logan Stankoven of the Carolina Hurricanes, is going to age quite well. So you mentioned his prime years. He's 22 years old right now. He'll turn 23 in February, if I remember correctly, is his birthday. So he'll turn 23 during the season. Basically, on the final year of that contract extension, not basically, he will. On the final year of that contract extension, Graham, he'll turn 31. So like you said, the prime years of his career. And Corey Laviolette, North State Journal, I thought made a really good point. That the $6 million a year, when that kicks in next year, the way the projection of the salary cap is, which is supposed to be around $104 million, that's going to be less than 6% of the cap next season. And then it's that percentage is only going to get lower as the salary cap increases. Even if the salary cap stays stagnant, which it won't, but you get my point. That contract should age quite well for a player who is growing and ascending. I actually, when I was filling in for Adam Gold last week, I tried to piece together what would a contract extension for Logan Stankoven look like. If he wanted to do a 4 or 5 year deal that would get him to unrestricted free agency, or would he want to do a long-term deal, 8 years? This being the last opportunity for him to do an 8-year contract. So that was kind of my question. So I thought that if they did somewhere around a 5-year deal, that would be around $6 million. And that if they did a 7 or 8 year deal, that will probably be closer to 7, like $6.5, $7 million. I thought maybe 8 times 6.5 might be the number, but 8 times 6, let's go. Stanky sticking around. All right, so that's the number 1 story. Let's get to the number 2 story, Graham.
Number 2.
Is Keandre Miller a Carolina Hurricane yet? Graham, have we have any updates on Keandre Miller?
As of this time, no. Everybody's just still twiddling their thumbs just like we are here in the studio.
Okay, so Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet up in Canada posted this out on social media earlier this afternoon about potentially, Graham, it looked like the Carolina Hurricanes were looking to acquire Keandre Miller from the New York Rangers. The big defenseman, 6'5", 209, 210 pounds, can skate really, really well. When I'm talking about skate really well, I'm like, if you look at some of the advanced numbers in terms of top-end speed bursts, and those kinds of things, his skating is pretty much right there for the most part on par with Jalen Chatfield. I ain't going to complain about a guy that can skate as well as Jalen Chatfield. I'm just not.
If anything, I'm asking myself, imagine those two guys on a line together.
Yeah, as a defensive pair, would love it. But here's the thing that Keandre Miller brings to this team that they really haven't had. Not only just, not size, I mean, obviously he's 6'5", much like Brent Burns was, but obviously adds more speed to that defense for a Carolina Hurricane system that thrives on man-to-man. That's the style of defense that they play. Then guess what? Someone with his skating ability should theoretically work well in this system. But he brings physicality as well. Ryan Hinkle, who covers the Carolina Hurricanes for the Hockey News, I actually thought made a really, really good point about Keandre Miller and just his physicality. That Keandre Miller had more hits than any Hurricanes defenseman in every season over the last 4 years. I'll say that one more time. Keandre Miller has had more hits than any Hurricanes defenseman in every season over the last 4 years. Now, the last couple of seasons, the leader for the Carolina Hurricanes for hits among the defensemen along the blue liners has been Dmitry Orlov. Now, obviously, like William Carrier, Andrei Svechnikov among the forwards have more hits as a whole, But among the defensemen, Dmitry Orlov has led the team in hits over the last couple of years for the Blue Liners. Well, he's going to be a free agent. He's not coming back. Well, now you're replacing him with a guy who's just actually even more physical in terms of the number of hits, but also has the length and the range and the speed. Now, he also has offensive upside as well. He had 110 shots on goal this past season. One of the tops among blue liners across the entire league. Now, there are some questions about him defending on the rush, things with like gap control, not to get too nerdy with hockey words and all those kinds of things. But hopefully with Carolina Hurricanes coaching, that kind of stuff will turn around. We'll talk a little bit more about Keandre Miller coming up here in about 3:15. So make sure you stay locked in on this, folks. More at 3:15. As the free agent frenzy continues here on 99.9 The Fan, presented by John Heiser Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Lillington. But, Graham, I am intrigued to see if this comes to play. Keandre Miller. Because the Canes do need to add a defenseman. Now, the question is, where would he play? But, again, we'll dive more into that at 3:15. As we get into the third thing.
Number 3.
Number 3. Just look at some of the big NHL moves that have taken place, Graham. So one of the big names in free agency, Nikolai Ehlers, formerly of the Winnipeg Jets, he obviously could still go back to Winnipeg, has not signed yet. Now, granted, free agency just started at noon Eastern, so we're talking about just over 3 hours ago. But apparently, he was pretty much open to kind of thinking about it for a couple of days, which is actually something we heard about Mitch Marner, Graham. Hey, do we just kind of sit for a couple of days, kind of wait and see what all my offers are? I mean, he's he might be like the big free agent going into today because Mitch Marner obviously didn't hit the open market. Aaron Ekblad, Brad Marchand, those guys hit the open market. So Nikolai Ehlers, who the Carolina Hurricanes have been linked to, and apparently have reports over the last few years have looked at trading for Nikolai Ehlers over the last couple of seasons. So obviously there's an interest there. But he's still a free agent. Still hasn't signed yet. Haven't seen anything yet. Another guy like Mikael Granlund from the Dallas Stars, who's probably getting a ton of offers right now. Pius Suter from the Vancouver Canucks, probably getting a ton of offers right now. They can kind of sit back and wait and see just because the free agency pool isn't really deep. But the big surprise actually came earlier today when Brock Besser from the Vancouver Canucks went back to Vancouver on a 7-year contract extension, which kind of blew my mind, Graham, seeing that because by all accounts, even according to Brock Besser himself when the season ended, he was like, yeah, I ain't coming back here.
Yeah, it's almost like he made his feelings well known after the season was over, and it kind of looked like they were doomed for despair going into next year too.
It was kind of perplexing, and I think to a lot of people as well. I was like, well, wait a second. I thought, like what happened? What happened between now and then that you all of a sudden were like, yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and go back to Vancouver of all places. Which, by the way, he's an American-born player. Apparently there's a lot of interest from the Minnesota Wild because I think he's from the state of Minnesota. A lot of interest there. I know apparently Carolina was possibly interested in Brock Besser. A lot of teams were interested in Brock Besser as well. Gavrikov, the defenseman from the LA Kings, he signed with the New York Rangers at a 7-year contract as well, which kind of makes Keandre Miller expendable. Keandre Miller, restricted free agent, which, by the way, as we continue our free agent frenzy, that's our big 3 stories here right at 3 o'clock. As we continue our free agent frenzy, now, Keandre Miller's not a Carolina Hurricane yet. Now, that could all change. Make sure you stay locked in here on 99.9 The Fan. If you're not listening on The Fan, or maybe you got to get back to the office, or you're going home, whatever it might be, you can watch and follow along on our YouTube page, 99.9 The Fan. You can leave your thoughts in the comment section as well. People are already leaving thoughts in the comments, sharing their thoughts on Keandre Miller, sharing their thoughts on Logan Stankoven, about some other possibilities that are out there for the Carolina Hurricanes. So make sure you are subscribed. We're almost at 18,000 subscribers, Graham. But here in 2 minutes, we're going to break down more about what Keandre Miller and the Carolina Hurricanes could mean if this actually does happen next.
If Heineken Silver was a 60-second radio ad, it'd tell you all the stuff you need to know in only 30 seconds to keep things light and refreshing. Seriously, time me. Heineken Silver, a world-class light beer that's surprisingly crisp and refreshing. Made with only premium quality ingredients and just 2.9 grams of carbs and 95 calories. All without compromising on taste. Heineken Silver. Order now at Heineken.com/silver. Must be 21 and older to purchase. Enjoy Heineken responsibly. Whew. 30 seconds. That's it. Done. Peace.
Adam Gold in studio with my friend Ryan Monsine from the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. Because you guys do everything for the exterior of your home, these things can add up. And there are a lot of people who think, I can't afford this. How can the Aluminum Company make it easier?
Yeah, well, Adam, we have plans that are 12 months, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 12 months, which make it super affordable for people to do anything on their home, whether it's windows, siding, doors, roofing, gutters, any kind of exterior home improvement. The Aluminum Company has financing plans that can fit in your budget and make it easy.
So wait a second. I can get everything done, no interest, and no payments for 12 months?
Yeah, and you get a lifetime warranty once the project's done.
I get a lifetime warranty once the project is done?
Yes, sir.
What about my down payment?
No down payment, no
What?
deposit.
No down payment, no deposit.
No payment until the project's done.
No payment till the project's done.
Exactly.
Where do I sign up? Aluminum Company of North Carolina, aluminumcompany.com.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hoped it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington.
Sanheim, taken away by Miller. Keandre Miller breaks in, he's tripped, goes to the net, and scores! What a goal!
Oh, yeah, change is happening all over the place. This is a Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. It is the Free Agent Frenzy, presented by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep on 99.9 The Fan down in Lillington. So here's the big question going on right now for the Carolina Hurricanes, Graham. This is the big thing right now is Free Agent Frenzy. And it's not even necessarily a free agent move. It's a possible trade that the Carolina Hurricanes are making right now.
Yeah, it's still in discussion. Eric Tulsky was supposed to speak with the media at 3, but for all you know, he might still be in a room making negotiations with the New York Rangers front office.
Well, it's also potentially with the New York Rangers front office, but also you're looking at possibly with the representation and the agents of Keandre Miller himself. Because the report came out earlier from Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet a couple hours ago. Graham said, hey, the Carolina Hurricanes are working on a deal to get Keandre Miller, the defenseman from the New York Rangers. Now, the question is, what's the compensation? We're not entirely sure what the compensation would be. So, following what Vince Mercogliano posted this on social media, posted it on X, Twitter, whatever. I had someone say, don't call it X. I'm like, well, that's what it's called. Anyway, posted on social media, who's a New York Rangers reporter for the USA Today. He's also on-air analyst for SNY TV discussing the New York Rangers. So Vince Mercogliano, about an hour ago, said, sounds like the Keandre Miller trade return will center on draft pick compensation, according to a source. Carolina holds 2 first-round picks next year, with the New York Rangers eyeing one of them. I'm totally okay if it's draft pick compensation for Keandre Miller, because that means the Carolina Hurricanes don't have to give up anyone on their roster in order to get him. And this is actually something that Eric Tulsky talked about on Friday last week, Graham, if you remember correctly. Right after the first round of the NHL draft, a lot of people were questioning about, just this is kind of league-wide, is that we didn't see a lot of players get traded during the first round for draft picks, is because most teams were looking for players in return. If I'm going to make a trade, I want a player back. If I'm going to give a player to you, I want a player back. So that's why we didn't see a whole lot of trades. Now, with a player like Vladislav Gavrikov signing a 7-year deal at $7 million with the New York Rangers, the defenseman coming over from the Los Angeles Kings, well, Keandre Miller was expendable, for lack of a better term. Someone that they're willing to move on from because the Rangers knew that they could get something for Keandre Miller. Now, Keandre Miller is a restricted free agent, and he does have arbitration eligibility. Now, if the Carolina Hurricanes just wanted to sign him to an offer sheet, the offer sheet range would have to be somewhere between $2.34 million and $4.68 million, because that would send a second-round pick to the New York Rangers if the Rangers did not match that offer sheet that the Carolina Hurricanes would sign him to. The Carolina Hurricanes don't have their third-round pick in 2026, so that kind of limits what they can do in terms of offer sheets. But that's what, if Carolina wanted to go the offer sheet route. But again, Keandre Miller was someone who the Rangers were willing to move on from, especially that they signed Gavrikov from the LA Kings. Either way, if they let Keandre Miller sign an offer sheet somewhere or traded him, they would get compensation back in some way, shape, or form. And I think if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, that's okay. Like, I'm totally fine. If you want the lesser of the 2 first-round picks next year for Keandre Miller, if the Carolina Hurricanes are able to sign Keandre Miller to a contract extension for the next, 4 years, fine. Would it be the first time, by the way, that the Carolina Hurricanes have traded a first-round pick for a New York Rangers defenseman? Y'all remember Brady Shea?
Yeah, he turned out pretty good for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Played well for the Canes. Came over. Does this sound familiar? Kind of fell out a little bit of favor in New York. Maybe had some New York Rangers fans not super excited of him. Felt like he kind of underachieved a little bit. Had several years left on his contract. The Carolina Hurricanes traded for him using a first-round pick. And guess what? Turned out pretty well for Carolina, didn't it? Have, 5 pretty good years here in Carolina. Ended up signing a big contract as a free agent last year with Nashville. And guess what? Nashville was not good this year. Maybe you can find that again when it comes to Keandre Miller. Here's something to keep in mind about Keandre Miller. Again, I'll quote Ryan Hinkle from the Hockey News. Did a great job, I think, bringing this up. I think he summed it up quite well. Okay, so Ryan Hinkle posted this. You can give him a follow at Ryan Hinkle. Again, he summed it up quite well, so I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Keandre Miller is a 6'5" defenseman who's a terrific skater with good transitional skills, an active stick, and physicality, all things Carolina looks for in a defender. They need more offense from the blue line, so he makes a lot of sense here. Struggles with gap control and defending off the rush, but the Canes hope they can remedy some of that, obviously. So again, that's from Ryan Hinkle. He summed it up perfectly right there, what Keandre Miller is. Again, he's just 25 years old. 25-year-old player you hope is still continuing to grow and get better.
And he also has the size of a Brent Burns currently.
Yeah, in terms of height, he's about 15 pounds less or whatever it is, but 6'5", physical player, can skate. Like, your defense is going to get faster. You have him and Alexander Nikishin coming into the mix with Brent Burns and Dmitry Orlov going out. So I got bigger, I got faster, I added physicality, and I got younger. That sounds like win-win-win. Especially, again, a guy like Keandre Miller that can put up offense, at least contribute offensively as well. Here's the question, though, going forward. Well, there's actually 2 major questions. One, does the deal get done? My guess is, Graham, that the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers have agreed upon the compensation for the trade, but it might just be coming down to have the Canes reach an agreement on a contract with Keandre Miller that they're comfortable with. That's probably it. Like, hey, look, if we're going to get Keandre for a 4-year contract at this price point, well, then this is what we're willing to give up for a 4-year deal. If we're only going to get him for 2 years, well, then I'm not going to give you as much. And then the New York Rangers might be a little bit hesitant to give him up then, because there might be someone else might be trying to trade for him. Who knows? Or an offer sheet might be coming on the table from another team. all things that have to be taken into consideration. But let's go the hypothetical, Graham. This is sports media, right? Let's go to the hypothetical. Let's say the Carolina Hurricanes do get Keandre Miller in a trade for, let's just say a first-round pick. It doesn't matter what it is. But they get Keandre Miller on their team. Who does he skate alongside? That's a big question because he's a left-handed defenseman. They already have left-handed defensemen in Alexander Nikishin, Jacob Slavin, Shane Gostisbehere. Right-handed guys, which generally you like to play on the right side of a defensive pair. You have Sean Walker, you have Jalen Chatfield, and then there's a void. Because, again, that's where Brent Burns used to be. So does Keandre Miller, is he capable of playing his offside as a lefty on the right side of the ice? There's some different advantages and there's some different challenges when playing on your offside. As a hockey player myself, I'm a left-handed shot. I hate playing. Granted, I'm a forward. I hate playing on the right side. I do. So I hate taking passes off my backhand. I just don't like it. But some guys are way more comfortable with that than I am. You see plenty of guys that are more than comfortable playing on their off wing. Or in this case, you're offside as a defenseman. So there can be some advantages to both. Now, if you're playing alongside Jacob Slavin and you have Keandre Miller, well, I got the ultimate guy that's going to be my safety net for me back there, which would allow Keandre Miller to use his legs and get up in transition and carry the puck up the ice and be a threat and jump up and be active along the blue line. The Carolina Hurricanes are known for having point production from their blue line, but last year we just didn't really see it. We didn't get a whole lot from Brent Burns. Shane Gostisbehere obviously contributed a lot, much of that coming on the power play, but we didn't quite see it as much on their blue line last year. Now, granted, Brady Shea was a 17, 18 goal scorer a couple of years ago. He left in free agency. Brent Burns just didn't have the offensive production, wasn't playing on the top power play unit, so we didn't see quite the production offensively. Maybe that's something Keandre Miller can provide. Again, he has all the physical skill set that you want in a Canes defenseman. Now, again, it's some of the small stuff in terms of defending off the rush and some other things, which I will say this when it comes to pro sports, is that you have coaches for those things. If you feel like a player is capable of achieving something, then obviously the player has to work hard in order to not only implement those things, but that's also where coaching comes in. Like, coaching does matter still, folks. You can still work on individual skills. If you go look at Shane Gostisbehere with Detroit a couple years ago, or even a couple of years that he had with Arizona, some of his defensive metrics weren't that good. But then you go, that's like, for example, just this past season, have one of his, statistically, in terms of some of the advanced numbers and such, one of his best defensive seasons of his career. A player that's not known for being a quote-unquote great defender, even though he's a blue liner. I like Shane Gostisbehere a lot. Keandre Miller, younger and a way faster skater. Quicker skater, and a much bigger guy. Again, 6'5", 210. I got Alexander Nikishin, who's built like a truck and can skate well, also coming in. All things that you have to like if you're a Carolina Hurricane fan. He fits the mold. Can he piece it together? That's a major question. Graham, has he signed yet? Has his trade gone through yet?
Still nothing.
Okay. All right, this actually comes from Ryan Hinkle. Okay, so this is how you know they're cooking up something, Graham. So Ryan Hinkle, who I just referenced from the Hockey News, covers the Carolina Hurricanes. So Eric Tulsky, the Carolina Hurricanes general manager, was set to speak around roughly 3 o'clock today to the media at the Lenovo Center. Ryan Hinkle just posted 6 minutes ago, quote, "We were supposed to talk to Eric Tulsky today around 3 p.m. We were just told it could be another 1 to 2 hours." Which means Eric Tulsky's cooking. Let Tulsky cook. Let Tulsky cook. Let the man cook. Let the man cook.
I wonder if whatever offer was presented to him, he said, I don't think so.
Maybe.
Try it again. Revise that.
Maybe.
Move this colon over here.
There's all kinds of things that could be at play here. You never know. You could be on the phone with Nikolai Ehlers for all we know. We don't know. We'll figure it out. That's why you guys stay locked in here, folks. Now, here's the thing. Keep this in mind. Stankoven signed a contract extension, obviously, as we know, 8-year contract extension on top of the final year of his entry-level contract. So he's with the team for the next 9 years. Canes haven't made any other moves today other than that. Now, granted, there haven't really been outside of Brock Besser staying in Vancouver for 7 years at $7.25 million. Gavrikov, Vladislav Gavrikov going to the New York Rangers for 7 years. I mean, there really hasn't been a whole lot of major moves. So we'll see. We'll see what all is going to come from this. But I'm curious what's going to happen. But Mikael Granlund is still out there. We also have, again, Brock Besser signed with the Vancouver Canucks, re-signed with them. But Brock Besser, again, not Brock Besser, but Nikolai Ehlers still floating around out there. Mikael Granlund still floating around out there. It's been a lot of kind of fringe moves for a lot of teams. Like, like you're seeing a lot of like the fourth line, third line, bottom pair defenseman, maybe a second pair defenseman type stuff going on because it's a very shallow free agent pool. We'll say that. We'll see what happens here. But stay locked in, folks. It's The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Canes are in action. Free agent frenzy presented by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Lillington. Stay locked in, folks. We're going to discuss a little bit more about some of the other major NHL moves. Coming up here in about 15 minutes, we will talk a little bit more about what Logan Stankoven's long-term projections can be for the Carolina Hurricanes. But when we come back on the other side, we're going to throw a couple names on the Dean's List. We didn't forget about the college sports here in the state of North Carolina. Dean's List and more NHL talk next.
Westwood One Sports presents this special tennis update. Opening round matches continue at Wimbledon. Novak Djokovic is beginning pursuit of his 25th Grand Slam title. He leads Frenchman Alexander Mueller after one set. Coco Gauff is also underway. Earlier today, fifth-seeded Taylor Fritz and fellow Americans Ben Shelton and Tommy Paul advanced. Fritz finished up his match from yesterday, taking down Giovanni Pecci Pericard, but says he would have preferred closing things out last night.
Still felt confident. I think it's easy. It would have been easy for me to get frustrated about not being able to play last night, but to be honest, I felt like confident going into the fifth set if it was last night or today, so I just had to come back and just keep doing what I've been doing.
A handful of major upsets: Alexander Zverev, Lorenzo Musetti, Jessica Pegula, Qinwen Zheng, and Karolina Mukova all out. With this tennis update, I'm Erica Herskowitz, Westwood One Sports.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
O'Reilly. Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE-certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Dick's epic 4th of July sale is on.
Get summer ready with 25% off select Stanley drinkware. Get 20% off Igloo coolers and water bottles and select bog bags. Buy one, get one 50% off DSG coolers, canopies, chairs, and water bottles. $200 off Callaway AI smoke irons and TaylorMade QI10 drivers. These deals won't last. Stock up for summer now, in-store or online at Dix.com. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington.
44, shot by Miller! He scores! Keandre Miller, first defenseman in Rangers history to record 4 points in a single period. Wow.
Now, the question is he going to do that in a Carolina Hurricanes uniform? To be determined. For those of you just joining us, by the way, it's The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. If you haven't heard the reports, this came from Elliot Friedman earlier this afternoon, about 2.5 hours ago, that the Carolina Hurricanes were trying to acquire or looking to acquire defenseman Keandre Miller from the New York Rangers. Okay? That's not official yet. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these types of conversations, Graham. Keandre Miller is a restricted free agent that is arbitration eligible. New York Rangers are kind of loaded with defensemen right now. They're also trying to sign one of the restricted free agent forwards in Will Cooley, who people are thinking might be subject to an offer sheet here at some point, possibly. So the New York Rangers, after signing Vladislav Gavrikov, the defenseman from the LA Kings, at $7 million a year over the next 7 years, it's like, well, you know what? Actually, we probably want to keep Will Cooley, the forward. We got enough on defense right now. Like, guess what? Keandre could be expendable. Someone that we could trade away. And the reports are that the Carolina Hurricanes are working on that. And again, this is according to Ryan Hinkle of the Hockey News, who said that Eric Tulsky, the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, who was supposed to be made available to the media about roughly 3 o'clock today. It was, a rough estimate time, 3 o'clock, said that the media was informed about 10 minutes ago that Tulsky will be available in about maybe an hour or two. So Tulsky's cooking. Tulsky is cooking. He did make some other moves today. By the way, there are a couple goaltenders that kind of came into the pipeline. Some guys that you might see play in the American Hockey League in Chicago, or maybe even down in the ECHL with the Greensboro Gargoyles. So we might see a couple of guys, in the pipeline of the system for the Carolina Hurricanes, just maybe a little organizational depth at goalie. You never know. You might strike gold. I know they drafted a goalie in the second round in the draft over this past weekend, but we shall see.
Just trying to add some depth. I mean, you never know what could happen.
Exactly. Just trying to add some depth. And you need to have that because Dustin Tokarski is a free agent. He's 35 years old. Spencer Martin's 30 years old. He's a free agent as well. Like, you might want to sign, if you want to bring Spencer Martin back, if he's willing to be on a two-way contract where he can go down to the American Hockey League, and someone that you bring up when Freddie or Pyotr Kochetkov gets hurt at some point next year, to have that's fine. I'm okay with that.
And soon enough, I mean, you're going to have an active emergency backup goaltender on your roster anyway, so might as well just knock that off.
You do have the E-Bug.
Knock it off the list.
Yeah, I think that starts in the next CBA, though. So you have that a little bit of time on that.
We still have a while.
So you have a little bit of time on that. But that's where we are right now, folks. That's where we are. With free agent frenzy here on 99.9 The Fan. But, Graham, we're going to get a little bit more into the Carolina Hurricanes here in a little bit, but it is that time of day that we normally do like to celebrate college sports and college athletes with the Dean's List. Couple names, at least one name I want to throw on the Dean's List here, Graham. One name. I'm not sure how familiar you are with college lacrosse, Graham.
Okay.
There's an athlete for UNC women's lacrosse by the name of Chloe Humphrey. She was a redshirt freshman this past year. She's going on the Dean's List again. I put her on the Dean's List once before, but I'm putting her on the Dean's List once again. So Chloe Humphrey, North Carolina, she was a redshirt freshman this past year, missed 2024 season because, if I remember correctly, it was like a foot injury. So she missed the season due to an injury. But last year as a freshman at North Carolina, scored a program record and an NCAA freshman record, 90 goals this past season. UNC went 22-0 on their way to a national championship. She scored 90 goals in 22 games, okay? They won a national championship, undefeated season, so obviously ACC title and all that stuff for it as well. So winning the ACC regular season, ACC tournament, and an NCAA tournament championship as a freshman. Oh, and she also won the Tawarton Award. The Tawarton Award in lacrosse is given out to the nation's best player. She won that as a freshman, Graham. Okay? Well, all this stuff happened a couple months ago, Dennis. Why are you bringing this up? Well, Chloe Humphrey was playing for Team USA women's lacrosse. Then the Pan Am Games, they just defeated Canada 21-11. You know who's out there on the field dishing assists, making plays for the United States? Young girl by the name of Chloe Humphrey, who just finished her freshman year at North Carolina, leading Team USA to a win over Canada, 21-11. So, yeah, Chloe Humphrey makes the Dean's List. Because why not? You're playing, you're literally one of the best players in your sport, and you're 20 years old, just finished your redshirt freshman season.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing. And she has a couple older sisters that play for the team, too. Studs. Absolute studs. So that's the Dean's List. I had to throw one name out there on the Dean's List today, by the way. So we can go ahead and class dismissed. Graham, I'm gonna keep asking this every single segment. Have we traded for Keandre Miller yet?
Let me refresh.
Have we traded
Elliot
for
Freeman's
Keandre
page
Miller yet? I'm not seeing anything from Frank Saravalli, Darren Drager. Come on, what are we doing? Brian, Frank Saravalli, what are we doing? Come on, guys. Pierre LeBrun, what are we doing? Make this stuff. Bob McKenzie, what are we doing? I thought Bob McKenzie was retired, and he's still out here throwing stuff out here, throwing stats and all this kind of stuff. Anyway.
I think this is the most tabs I've ever had open on this studio laptop in here, or studio desktop, excuse me.
Well, no wonder we're running out of disk space and all that stuff. Graham out here throwing hey guys, we need to clear some data off this computer. Well, no wonder.
Having tabs open doesn't affect that.
I don't know. Just saying, Graham.
All right, I can close the Google tab.
No, that's fine. Keep it up. Keep it up, Graham. By the way, we are going to have a free agent frenzy. We're going to continue that conversation here coming up. But, Graham, there was something that we know did happen for the Carolina Hurricanes. Something that has me very excited, and if you're a Canes fan, should have you excited as well. We're not going to stink for the next 9 years, Graham, but we're going to be stanky. We'll discuss Logan Stankoven next.
It's bow time. Something new just dropped at Bojangles. Take the bold taste of a crispy golden chicken supreme that's been seasoned to perfection, then add dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, and a toasted bun that's great on the go. What do you get? You get a Bo's Bird Dog. In fact, you can grab 2 of them for $5. So when you're on the go, headed to practice, or need a snack, grab a Bo's Bird Dog. Hurry in before they're gone. Available for a limited time. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time, but sometimes it's go time. No time to stop, but the perfect time for a Bojangles Bird Dog. A seasoned to perfection Bojangles Chicken Supremes, dill pickles, and Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, all tucked inside a toasted bun. Great on the go. Try 2 bird dogs for just $5 or 2 bird dog combo for just $8.25. Available for limited time only. When you're hungry for flavor and value, it's bow time.
Maxed out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt? You can pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is A+ rated by the BBB and have nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Their service is off the charts. Call now to start the conversation. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760. Get debt relief now. Loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781 on approved credit. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Progressive knows we all crave validation.
Girl, you are not 37.
I would have guessed 27.
You guys are too sweet.
Sure, dewy skin. Terrific.
Is something wrong, Ned?
Why would you ask? Just because today marks my 10th anniversary without a car accident or even a speeding ticket? But somehow, tonight's all about your skincare.
Wow. With Snapshot from Progressive, you can get a personalized rate based on how you drive. And that's all the validation you need. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
That's the sound of a Mountain Dew. And that's you enjoying its refreshing citrus kick. That's a cool breeze suddenly whistling through your hair.
Whoa!
That's you realizing you're now on a mountain.
This is epic!
That's you stating the obvious.
Mountain Dew!
Do the do.
Hurry into Family Fare and get 2 20-ounce bottles of ice-cold Mountain Dew for just $4.29. Family Fare, first in thirst.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington.
Gets the shot through, they score! He put some stank on it. Logan Stankoven's first goal in his first game. And it's all the new guys here in Raleigh.
I hope we hear this. Do the stanky leg for the next 9 years, because guess what? That's exactly what we're going to get. So drive with Tim Donnelly on 99 Now The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. Graham Hill producing the show. It is the Free Agent Frenzy presented by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington. Graham, we got the news this morning even before free agency started. It was around 11 o'clock. Email pops in. Boom. Logan Stankoven. 8-year contract extension with the Carolina Hurricanes.
There it is. First big move.
First big move. 8-year contract extension. $6 million a year on that extension. Hey, good on him. First of all, congratulations. Like Logan Stankoven, you got the contract extension. That's awesome. I'm excited for him. Truly am. Now, the question is going forward, where does he fit in? Where does a guy like Logan Stankoven fit in long-term with this team? By the way, he's going to be on the last year of his entry-level contract this year, so that contract extension doesn't kick in until next season, which, by the way, keep this in mind. This is actually a beneficial thing for Eric Tulsky when it comes to negotiating a contract with a guy like Keandre Miller or negotiating a contract potentially if they offered one to Nikolai Ehlers or Mikael Granlund or whomever it might be. Knowing that you have Stankoven under contract for the next 8 years at $6 million a year, you have to take that into your calculations for contracts if you're going to sign a guy beyond this upcoming season, like beyond the 25-26 season. All things you have to keep in mind. So having Stankoven under contract gives Eric Tulsky an idea of like, okay, next year, this is who I have under contract and for how much. And then for the year after, anticipating the growth of the salary cap and those kinds of things. Salary cap this year, $95.5 million. It's expected to jump to about 104, 105 next year. I think it's 104 is what it's supposed to jump to. Then it's supposed to jump to 113 the year after that. So all things that Eric Tulsky has to keep in mind, knowing that, okay, if I sign a player now, what's the contract going to look like? Also keeping in mind that Alexander Nikishin is going to be due for a contract extension as well. He's going to be a restricted free agent after this year. You have to anticipate how much is it going to cost us to keep Alexander Nikishin after this season? What's that contract going to look like going forward? All things that you have to keep in mind. So just because you have a bunch of salary cap this year doesn't mean you can just chew it all up knowing that you have some extensions for some other guys that might be major increases as well. Okay? So keep that in mind when it comes to all these contract negotiations that you're making. Now, if you're signing a guy to a 1-year deal, heck, splurge. That's fine. Splurge. That's okay. Ain't got no problem with that. Go for it. But the contract extension for Logan Stankoven, I think, is going to age extremely well.
Oh, yeah, like fine wine.
$6 million a year. Gosh, in 4 years, we might be looking at, we hope, again, this is a young player, 22 years old, ascending player, which we've seen the Carolina Hurricanes lock up their young players with long-term contracts early. We've seen it with Seth Jarvis. We've seen it with Jacob Slavin. We've seen it now with Andrei Svechnikov. I mentioned Jarvis already. Obviously, Aho had the whole offer sheet match, but still signed to a long-term extension. Like, this is something that we've seen the Carolina Hurricanes do. They find their good young players, sign them to contracts early, and then before you know it, you're looking around like, well, that's a really good deal. Like the Jacob Slavin contract before the extension kicked in was like, dang, that's a heck of a contract. And now even with the contract kicking in, you're like, damn, that's still a heck of a contract. Like, what a great deal. And then now you're going to look at Seth Jarvis already. You're like, wow, it's salary cap hit, even though it is really it's a $7.9 million a year deal, but with the deferred money, it's a $7.1 million cap hit. But heck, even if it was $7.9 million, you'd be like, it's a damn good deal. Now this Stankoven deal, you're going to look at it and go, great deal.
And when it relates to Logan Stankoven in terms of just the impact that he made right away when he came to the system, that highlight that I played coming out of the break, that was his first goal in his very first game against the Winnipeg Jets, one of the favorite team or the top teams in the NHL at the moment. And then after the playoff game, when the Hurricanes unfortunately got eliminated, Ryan Brindamore talked about how the young guys like Mark Jankowski and Logan Stankoven, how they came in here and just bought into the system, I think really reflected, and it was something that Eric Tulsky really took notice of. And how could you not?
I mean, Adam Gold said it earlier. I think even Eric Tulsky on the press release even said it. Like, this guy, like, epitomizes everything you want Carolina Hurricanes hockey to be. Like, I think Adam used the term, he oozes Carolina Hurricanes hockey. And if you get a guy that can, whom I think eventually can become a consistent 25-goal, 50-point-a-year guy. If I'm going to get consistently from my potentially second or third line winger, because again, Svechnikov locked up long-term, Seth Jarvis locked up long-term already, a guy that could be on my second or third line that's good defensively, that's going to get better defensively, that's going to be a 25-goal guy, it's going to grow into that, and then, my goodness, has got that playoff dog in him. We got 5 goals this past postseason. You had a couple of them in the Eastern Conference Final. Like, the playoffs aren't too big for this guy. We saw him last year put up multiple goals in the playoffs for the Dallas Stars as, just joining the team, being brought up with about 24, 25 games left in the regular season. Play with them all the way through the Western Conference Final. I think this upcoming year for Stankoven, having played 19 games in the regular season, how many postseason games? 15 or so. Having played that many games in the Canes system, you're only going to see him flourish even further. And I think that's one of the reasons why you actually saw his game tick up in the postseason, is because it generally takes about, with Rob Brindamore's system, with the Canes, it takes about 15 to 20 games for guys to really get comfortable. And he played 19 games in the regular season with the Canes, and then all of a sudden playoffs hit, and it's the first period of that first game or the second period of that first game against the New Jersey Devils, and he's scoring a couple of goals.
Mr. Game 1.
Yeah, Mr. Game 1. And then against the Washington Capitals in Game 1, in the third period, scores a big-time tying goal in the third period. And then against the the Florida Panthers, scores a tying goal in Game 4, scores a go-ahead or tying goal in Game 5 as well. Games 3 and Games 4, but nonetheless, like, this is what we're seeing from Stankoven, a guy who is a rookie. And you're like, whoa, this guy fits everything that the Carolina Hurricanes do. Now, there are still questions going forward about, all right, who's going to play alongside him? I think there's still a major question about who's going to center him. I think he and Taylor Hall if he and Taylor Hall are a wing pair together, I'd love it. But I think early on he might slot in playing alongside, at least this upcoming year, playing alongside Jordan Staal and Jordan Martinook, and could be that offensive scoring touch. Because Jordan Martinook and Jordan Staal are known for great on the forecheck. They possess the puck in the offensive zone a lot. Now, they help generate some scoring chances. The scoring touch really just isn't quite there. But we saw a couple of years ago Seth Jarvis really thrived playing alongside, had a 33-goal season, and for a chunk of that playing alongside Jordan Staal and Jordan Martinook.
Yep. The dad line.
As it was coined. His two dads. Maybe this the next son coming up. Now it's the other, Now he's Stankoven's two dads, Jordan and Jordan. Maybe that's something that we see for the next year or so as he continues to grow, especially if the Carolina Hurricanes go out and get a top 6 winger. If they, for example, if they go ahead and get Nikolai Ehlers, and you get Nikolai Ehlers along with Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis, that's a heck of a top line. But then that allows Svechnikov to play along in the middle 6, along with Stankoven and Taylor Hall, maybe Jordan Martinook, and maybe that allows you, if you need to go make a trade, to use Jackson Blake. Or Jackson Blake plays on your quote-unquote 4th line and can provide some scoring touch throughout the lineup. You need to have guys with... One thing I love about Logan Stankoven is his mentality. I actually remember speaking to him one-on-one after his exit interview about a month ago when the Canes season ended, about having that mentality of, in the playoffs, going to the front of the net, going to the blue paint, or going into the corner. But I say going to the... I'll use the analogy. You go to the blue paint, the crease right there in front of the net. You go to the blue paint, you're stick down on the ice, know you're going to get cross-checked, elbowed, punched, slashed. You still do it. Not only do you go there, but you fight for the space that you need to get to, and you can still produce doing that. That's what separates, in my eyes, good regular season player from good postseason player.
Especially at his size, too.
Yeah.
Not being afraid to get up there and mix it up, especially in the playoffs in front of the net.
He ain't scared. Remember when he went after it with Tom Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Canes fans that's my dude.
Biggest size advantage in the history of the NHL. Rod Brindamore even said it.
Yeah, exactly. And Stankoven didn't back down. No, he's not the guy that's going to go out there and just start throwing fists. I don't want him to do that. But you get my point, is that he's not afraid of that moment. He's not afraid to do that dirty, gritty thing that really it's intangible. It's all between the ears. It's a mindset thing. It's something I always bring up. Like, for example, when we watched the Four Nations and we saw Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk and even some of these other guys, even Connor McDavid, going to the front of the net, stick down on the ice, not afraid to absolutely take a beating from someone else in order to go make a play, because that's the kind of dirty, grimy work and gritty work that you have to do in order to win a game where there's so much on the line. And Logan Stankoven possesses that. I think Dan Morgan's he's got that dog in him. Dan Morgan, the Carolina Panthers head coach or general manager. Dan Morgan be like, yeah, I like that guy. But it's a mentality thing that he brings, that he has, that separates him from so many others. And I think that's what we're going to see from him. We might see a consistent 25-goal, 50-point guy in the regular season, which some people might look and say, hey, good numbers, good, productive numbers, really good player. Obviously, he's not going to be like a point-per-game type guy. I mean, unless you're going to do it.
Yeah, we won't complain
I'm not going to complain.
You choose to.
But it's what he's going to do in April, May, and June. And I think this is what excites me about Stankoven long term, is that he gave us a glimpse of what he is capable of doing in April, May, and June, when those 3 months matter the most in the NHL, because that's when you're playing in the playoffs. April, May, and June. And I think Logan Stankoven has a little bit of that special in him that when it's April, May, and June, that's when he elevates his game. May not put up gaudy regular season numbers all the time, but when it's April, May, and June, that's when Logan Stankoven, in my mind, is going to make his money right there. It's The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. Graham Hill producing the show. Graham, have we traded for Keandre Miller yet?
Still nothing. I just refreshed the page, went down the tabs. Nada.
Okay. All right. We're going to keep an eye on all this. Okay. We're going to keep an eye on all this right now. You know, I know normally we do football at 4, but when it's free agent frenzy, we stay with hockey. Is this Keandre Miller thing a real deal? We'll discuss what Keandre Miller potentially to the Carolina Hurricanes can mean, what he can provide if he comes to Raleigh. Next.
Dear McDonald's, your breakfast menu? Fire. 10s across the board. I could be happy with anything, even though I order the same thing every time. Thanks for not judging me. I'll try something new next time. Maybe.
Get your faves for less. Buy a sausage McMuffin with egg for $2.50. Add any size Sprite for $1.49. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5, win or lose. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in North Carolina. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. T&Cs apply. Available in app only.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Welcome to Take 5 Oil Change.
Hey, how long will this take?
Just 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Get out. That's super fast. Super fast like an F1 pit stop.
Sir.
Huh?
We're all done. I even topped off your fluid and checked your tires.
But I was so close to the finish line.
Get in and out fast with Take 5, the stay-in-your-car 10-minute oil change. And check out F1 the movie starring Brad Pitt, only in theaters June 27th. Rated PG-13.
I'm attorney Brian Ritchie. Workers' comp can be tricky, but my law firm will be on top of all the complicated paperwork and sneaky deadlines so that all of your I's are dotted and T's are crossed. If you've been hurt on the job, I'm on top of it. Contact us at ritchielaw.com.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington. Broadcasting live from the Lenovo Studios, WCMC HD1 Holly Springs, 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports leader.
Middle of the day on this Tuesday, temperatures in the upper 80s with highs in the low to mid 90s this afternoon. Most of our scattered storms arriving this evening, some rain lingering into Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, coolest in nearly a month, highs in the 80s. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the WRAL Severe Weather Center.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 4 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones up 400 points at 44,494.
Stankoven with a drive. He scores! Martin comes up with a loose puck. He feeds the rookie and Logan Stankoven's first goal in the playoffs for the Canes.
Normally we do football at 4. Here on The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in For Tim Donnelly this afternoon, Graham Hill is producing the show. But you know what? It's July 1st. By the way, we've officially made it halfway through the year. Congratulations. You've completed 6 months. We're halfway through the year, folks. But July 1st means NHL Free Agency. It's the free agent frenzy here on 99.9 The Fan, presented by John Heister, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, on 99.9 The Fan. The big question, now the Canes, by the way, have not signed a free agent yet. Now, there's quite a few teams out there that haven't. Now, the Carolina Hurricanes certainly have been in talks with people. Now, a big name that's still out there, Graham, Nikolai Ehlers. That name's still floating around out there. Nikolai Ehlers, the winger from the Winnipeg Jets, which I heard Elliot Friedman say this earlier today. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, covers the National Hockey League, one of the big insiders. Like, for example, if you're an NFL fan and you ever heard of Adam Schefter of ESPN, Elliot Friedman is kind of like in that same vein, but just for hockey.
And speaking of Elliot Friedman, nothing still on his Twitter. Nothing.
Okay. We're following this Keandre Miller situation, folks. We're going to dive that into here in a second. But we have not heard anything in terms of an actual free agent signing for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, sometimes this stuff does take a little bit of time because a potential free agent is fielding multiple offers and they're trying to weigh out what their options might be. And, teams are in contact with multiple agents over multiple players. Now, Nikolai Ehlers of the Winnipeg Jets was going into today after Aaron Ekblad re-signed with the Florida Panthers yesterday, after Brad Marchand re-signed with the Florida Panthers yesterday, after the Vegas Golden Knights were able to get Mitch Marner. That deal was agreed upon yesterday and became official today. After some of those guys had came off the board, Ivan Provorov staying with the Columbus Blue Jackets, well, that means the free agent pool got pretty thin pretty quickly. I mean, this free agent class as a whole is not very good. It's not very deep. So a guy like Nikolai Ehlers, who is the top guy in terms of free agents, well, he can sit back and wait before he makes his decision. And that's actually something Elliot Friedman, as I mentioned from Sportsnet, was actually discussed earlier today, saying, hey, you know what? Don't be surprised if Nikolai Ehlers waits a day or two. Like, it might not be till Thursday before we see Nikolai Ehlers actually make a decision. He wants to really sit down and think about it. And you know what? That's fine. That's his right. He could do that. He doesn't have to make a decision right now. Now, we as fans and people that cover the NHL, well, of course we want a decision right now because we want to know. We might not hear anything on Nikolai Ehlers. We might not hear anything during this show, Graham, about Keandre Miller. Keandre Miller is a defenseman for the New York Rangers. He's 25 years old. Was going into restricted free agency. Now, restricted free agency means you can sign an offer sheet with another team, but the team that you sign with has the ability to match that offer. All right, this is a protection for teams around the league to make sure that they keep the young players that they draft for at least a certain number of years, or until a players reach a certain age. Now, he's a restricted free agent, so the Carolina Hurricanes could have offered him a free agent contract that the New York Rangers could have signed. Now, there would have potentially been some draft pick compensation that goes back as part of an offer sheet deal. But this looks like, according to Elliot Friedman, just a simple trading for the rights of Keandre Miller. Hey, we're going to trade for Keandre, but part of that trade taking place would be, well, we want to work out a contract extension with Keandre Miller. That's something you got to keep in mind as well. You don't work out a contract with Keandre Miller before you accept a trade, right? You don't want a Mika Rantanen situation again. One of those type things. Now, Keandre Miller could tell the Carolina Hurricanes and their representatives saying, hey, look, I know I'm going to be a free agent after this upcoming season. I'll sign for a year. I'll agree to that. And then if Carolina's comfortable with just a one-year deal, then they can go and turn to the Rangers and say, hey, look, he's only going to sign for us for a year. We're only going to give out this draft pick or, this mid-level prospect if we're going to make this deal because he's only going to sign for us for 1 year. So those are all things you have to kind of figure out, is that Eric Tolsky, the general manager for the Canes, will have to decide, okay, if we are willing to give up, let's say, a first-round pick, which, by the way, Vince Mercogliano of USA Today, who covers the New York Rangers, said that the Keandre Miller trade return will center on draft pick compensation. That's what, according to one of his sources, that was the thing. Now, Carolina, the Hurricanes, do hold 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft, and that the New York Rangers are currently eyeing one of those draft picks. So if Carolina is comfortable giving up a first-round draft pick to the New York Rangers for Keandre Miller, they want to make sure that they retain Keandre Miller on a contract that they feel is deemed worthy of a first-round pick being traded away. You're not going to trade a first-round pick for Keandre Miller if he's only willing to stick with your team for 1 year or even just 2 years. Now, if it's 4 years or 5, okay, then that's a different conversation. Maybe it's Keandre Miller and let's say like a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick. I'm not sure exactly what the New York Rangers have draft pick-wise this upcoming year in 2026, or maybe it's a 2027 pick. So, okay, we'll give you a 1st-round pick for Keandre Miller and a 3rd coming back our way. Maybe that's the move. That's okay, too. Maybe that's the move that you can make. So these are all things that you have to figure out if you're Eric Tolsky, as well as the owner, Tom Dundon. We all know this. Tom Dundon is also a part of these negotiations as well. I know Eric Tolsky is the general manager, but Tom Dundon, it's a group effort. Tom Dundon's in on every single one of these decisions as the owner of the team.
Especially when it comes to the salary negotiation.
Oh, 100%.
We know Tom Dundon most of the time likes to have the final say in that, as he should, as one of the owners of the team.
Hey, he's the owner. He signs the check.
Yeah.
If I'm the one signing the check, I'll decide how much that check is going to be. So those are all things we have to keep in mind. We also know that Tom Dundon, we all just know this, isn't going to overpay. The Carolina Hurricanes aren't going to overpay just for the sake of getting somebody. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to overpay. Now, if anything, they'll try and give you 90 cents and get $1 back. That's what they'll try and do. Well, we'll give you 90 cents if you give us $1 back. Hey, you can have these 9 dimes. All you got to do is give us one $1 bill. That's what the Carolina Hurricanes and their approach is. Now, the Keandre Miller trade hasn't officially happened. I know there's a lot of fans in our YouTube section. By the way, if you go on 99.9 The Fans YouTube page, check that out. Follow us there. Leave your thoughts in the comment section on the live chat that we have going on right now. I've seen a couple people say, hey, you know what? This hasn't happened yet. This hasn't fully materialized yet. Maybe this deal has fallen through.
People are also asking, could Burns, Orlov, and Roslovic have something to do in this as well? And that's why it might be taking a little bit longer.
No, those guys are unrestricted free agents. Those guys can do whatever they want. Like, Roslovic can just go sign with anybody. Burns can go sign with anybody. Dmitry Orlov can go sign anybody. Those guys aren't under control by the Carolina Hurricanes anymore. Those guys are free to sign with any team in the NHL. So the New York Rangers, if they just wanted to go, bring back Jack Roslovic, whom they traded for a couple years ago at the trade deadline from the Columbus Blue Jackets, if they wanted to just go sign Jack Roslovic to a contract, they could just go sign him. They don't need this deal to make any of that happen. Those guys are free agents. They could do whatever they want. If they just want to go to Brent Burns like, hey, Brent, hey, man, we want to offer you a 1-year contract. It's going to be a base salary, $1 million, but we're going to put $4 million of incentives on there because you're over the age of 35. Would you like to sign right here? Like, they don't need this trade for any of that. So no, like that's not holding up any of this. Jack Roslovic, Dmitry Orlov, and Brent Burns can go sign wherever they damn well please. They don't need this trade in order to be anything. So again, by all accounts, the Carolina Hurricanes, if going for Keandre Miller, will be centered around draft pick compensation, which I think if you're Carolina, fine. There's a reason why you got that extra draft pick or the 2 first-round draft picks as well as a couple third-round draft picks and Logan Stankoven for Mikko Rantanen, to allow you to use that draft capital to go get other guys. That gives you that ammo. So, yeah, if you want to use, hey, New York, we'll give you the lesser of our 2 first-round picks that we have next year. We'll make it conditional. And Keandre Miller, okay, fine. If I'm Carolina, I'd make that move. If I can sign Keandre Miller for the next 4 years, I 100% make that move. Because I didn't have to give up anybody to bring in a player. I didn't get to give up anything in terms of actual player on my roster. Absolutely. I didn't have to give up one of my top prospects either. It's a great move. Draft picks aren't guaranteed, especially in hockey. Hockey's a total crapshoot when it comes to the draft. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on with these. Now, I wouldn't freak out that Keandre Miller, that this hasn't happened yet. Now, General Manager Eric Tulsky for the Carolina Hurricanes was supposed to meet with the media about an hour ago. About an hour ago, he was supposed to meet with the media. The media at the Lenovo Center were told, according to Ryan Hinkle, this is about 3:30. Hey, it might be another hour or two before Eric Tulsky's available. We're actually trying to get Eric Tulsky on this show. So if we're going to get Eric Tulsky on, y'all will know. Stay locked in. We're going to try and get Eric Tulsky on today. If we can't get him on today, we're definitely going to try and get it on tomorrow. The dude's cooking. We're going to let that guy cook. But if the trade doesn't happen immediately right now for Keandre Miller, doesn't mean it won't happen. It's not a situation where, all right, guys, we got to get it done today. We got to get it done by close of business. You know, by close of business today, we got to get this Keandre Miller deal done. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. So, yeah, there's a lot of different options out there that the Carolina Hurricanes can do in terms of the type of contract that they want to give, in terms of length for Keandre Miller, what the compensation and all that stuff is coming back. But, Graham, if they do get Keandre Miller, he's a left-handed defenseman. It gives you 4 lefties on your roster. You have 2 right-handed guys. Someone's going to have to play their offside. If I remember correctly, Alexander Nikishin may have played his offside over in Russia. Do you feel comfortable putting a rookie in Alexander Nikishin, throwing him up there with Jacob Slavin right there from the get-go? Do you do that and have Keandre Miller skate alongside Jalen Chatfield? Then you still keep Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker together? Like, is that the move?
I know earlier when we were in the cubicle before the show, I even said I wouldn't mind seeing Miller and Jalen Chatfield skating together. But then you did bring up the good point. I don't know how comfortable maybe Rod Brindamore and the rest of the coaching staff would feel having probably their top 2 defensemen, two of their top defensemen skating alongside each other on the same line.
You talking about Slavin and Chatfield?
Miller and Chatfield.
No, Miller and Chatfield, I'm okay with those guys together because Miller's got the offensive
Slavin
mindset.
And Chatfield, that's what it was.
Slavin and Chatfield would make a great defensive pair, but I don't want my 2 best defensive defensemen playing on the same pair together. Like, those guys need to be split. Not that they can't play together, but they just, for balancing things out amongst your blue liners, you can't put them together unless you need to in a pinch.
Yeah.
But do you put Keandre Miller with Jalen Chatfield? If you have Keandre Miller with Jalen Chatfield as your second defensive pair, I mean, that's an upgrade over what you had last year with Dmitry Orlov and Jalen Chatfield, in my eyes.
I mean, Chatfield's one of those defensemen, too, that can pinch very well and then also get back at a high speed. And that's what, if you go and look at Keandre Miller's highlights with the Rangers, he does the same thing. If there's a breakaway happening, Miller's one of the first guys that's right back there on the defensive side.
Both of those dudes can skate really, really well. Keandre Miller's skating in terms of like speed and number of bursts and 20 miles per hour plus and those kinds of things, very similar to Jalen Chatfield. Very, very similar. Like, both these guys are extremely fast and very good skaters. Now, I think, again, if you have Keandre Miller, Jalen Chatfield as a second defensive pair, that's an upgrade from what you had last year with Orlov and Chatfield. You got younger, faster, and, if anything, actually even more physical than Dmitry Orlov. In Chatfield, like you say, you can cover for Keandre Miller if he gets out of position. But the question is, who skates alongside Jacob Slavin? Are you comfortable right from the get-go throwing Alexander Nikishin up there? Like, are you comfortable with that? It's a big ask for a rookie. I know he's played a bunch in the KHL. The KHL ain't the NHL. We saw a couple flashes with it in the postseason of what Alexander Nikishin could do, but there's still a lot of room for him to grow. I don't think Scott Morrow's ready yet. I think Scott Morrow can be a very good NHL player, but he's just not quite ready yet. Then, yeah, you can still keep Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker together. To be determined. There's a lot of questions. But, hey, you know what? Keandre Miller can help be an upgrade on defense, for at least on the blue line. Can absolutely be an upgrade if the deal happens. It hasn't happened yet. And trust me, when it does happen, or if it does happen, we'll let you know. So make sure you stay locked in right here on 99.9 The Fan. It's The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. It's the free agent frenzy presented by John Heiser, Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Lillington. So make sure you stay locked here, folks. We're going to keep you updated on anything going on in the NHL, any of the other big signings, trades, and all that stuff going on. We're definitely going to keep you locked in for sure. But we do have to do a ladder challenge. Also coming up, Graham's going to hit us with a little bit of copper drop, Carolina Hurricanes related, as we free agent frenzy continues on The Fan.
Move your sports day forward.
In the often forgettable churn of sports news, it's a good thing Will Wade is stoking the rivalry fire between State and Carolina. In this fresh age of player transfers and payments, the only way to provide spark these days has to be through the coaches. The one-and-done kids can't hint at rivalry. Wade's delivering in an area for me way ahead of schedule.
Get set up. Join Next Up with Paul Ihander. Mornings at 9 on 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
Westwood One Sports presents this special tennis update sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen, made for your brain. Day 2 is winding down at Wimbledon as first-round matches wrap up. Fresh off her win at the French Open, second-seeded Coco Gauff is aiming for the Channel Slam, but she's going to have to go the distance if she wants to make it out of the first round. After dropping her first set against Ukrainian Diana Yastremska in a tense tiebreak, she is now down a break in the second set. On center court, 7-time Wimbledon champ Novak Djokovic is seeking a 25th Grand Slam title. He split the first 2 sets against Frenchman Alexander Mueller. Earlier today, world number 1 Jannik Sinner won in straight sets. 4th-seeded Jack Draper advanced, and so did 5th-seeded Taylor Fritz and fellow Americans Ben Shelton and Tommy Paul. It's been a turbulent day, too, though. Plenty of upsets. Alexander Zverev, Lorenzo Musetti, Qinwen Zhang, Jessica Pegula, and Karolina Mukova are all out. With this tennis update, I'm Erica Herskowitz, Westwood One Sports.
David is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years, and I'm from Flowery Branch, Georgia. When I first started taking Prevagen, I noticed stuff just seemed to come together and fit like a jigsaw puzzle. When I have customers come in, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's safe and effective, does not require a prescription. And I've been taking it quite a while myself, and I know it works. I wouldn't recommend something like Prevagen if I didn't think it was worth it because it works so good for me. And I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really worked so good. Makes my day.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington.
And it's Stankoven, he scores! A power second of the period puts the Canes up 3-0.
Free agent frenzy here on 99.9 The Fan. Now, Graham, before we get into a little ladder challenge, we're just going to, we'll make two $10 bets just kind of for the day. By the way, I lost both mine yesterday. I think you lost both yours yesterday as well, right? So, yeah, we both stink. Anyway, that's where we are. So, real quick on the Keandre Miller potential trade for the Carolina Hurricanes. Lou asked this on our YouTube live chat just a minute ago. If Keandre Miller is a restricted free agent, why trade a first if we could just offer sheet him? Lou, that's actually a very, very good question. So when it comes to signing restricted free agents, the NHL sets like different tiers of pricing points. For example, if the Carolina Hurricanes wanted to sign an offer sheet somewhere between $2.34 million a year, and if I remember correctly, the number is, I'm going to make sure I find this here correctly. If the Carolina Hurricanes wanted to sign him to an offer sheet between $2.34 million a year and $4.68 million a year on an offer sheet because he's a restricted free agent, if Miller signs that deal and the New York Rangers don't match that offer sheet, the Carolina Hurricanes would get Keandre Miller, and then a second-round pick in 2026 would go to the New York Rangers if signed in that price range. Now, if you go into a higher price range in terms of how much you are willing to sign a player for and also how much a player is willing to sign, then the compensation increases. Here's the thing. The draft picks that have to go to the other team on an offer sheet signing have to be your own draft picks. So I can't just give them the second round pick that I got from another team. It has to be your own. So when you start getting into some tiers where it's somewhere like $6 or $7 million a year, sometimes that's a first round pick as well as a third round pick. But the Carolina Hurricanes don't have their third round pick in 2026. That was given to the Washington Capitals as part of the trade for Evgeny Kuznetsov last year, before the trade deadline in 2024. So because the Carolina Hurricanes don't have their third round pick in 2026, they're limited on what they can offer other teams' restricted free agents. So that's what's kind of holding them back. If they still want that player, then they can negotiate with the team about, hey, we want to, we'll give you this pick or this player or this combination of pick and player in order to sign that restricted free agent, and then you agree upon a trade in that regard. So that's the reason why the Carolina Hurricanes can only sign so much when it comes to offer sheets for players. Just because they're a little bit limited in terms of what they can do because, again, you have to have your own draft picks as part of the compensation for offer sheets of players. And because the Canes don't have their third round pick in 2026, it limits on what they are able to do. For example, remember when Jesperi Kotkaniemi signed that 1-year offer sheet with the Carolina Hurricanes before he signed his 8-year contract extension? Yep. Remember that, Graham? So that 1-year contract was a little over $6 million. So the Canes had to give up their first-round pick and their third-round pick to Montreal to sign that offer sheet because Montreal wasn't able to match it. Canes got the player as a restricted free agent. They had to give a first and a third to Montreal as part of that offer sheet deal. Because the Canes don't have that pick, that third-round pick this year, they can't give the third-rounder to other teams. So, again, it limits what they can do. Now, if they wanted to sign a restricted free agent for over $11.7 million a year, they could give up 4 first-round picks over the next 5 years if they wanted to. But there ain't nobody out there, restricted free agent, that you're signing over $11.7 million a year to. just simply not the case. So again, to answer your question about restricted free agency, that's the reason why Carolina's a little bit constricted. Or restricted, I should say, about what they can do in terms of offer sheets. It's the Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. We're going to have a little bit of copper drop coming up here in a second. Graham, real quick, have we traded for Keandre Miller yet? Is it official?
Let's go to Elliot Freeman, refresh once again. I just did it. Nope.
No, nothing.
Frank Saravalli.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Dan Drieger, all these guys. Okay, we got nothing so far. Okay, fine.
We are
Chris
still
Johnston, Pierre LeBrun, nothing. Dang it! Hold on. Hit the breaking news. Hit the breaking news. Hit the breaking news. This came out 15 seconds ago as we're doing the refreshing. Mikael Granlund signs a 3-year deal with the Anaheim Ducks. Now, it's probably the top center out there on the board. So Mikael Granlund, again, this is breaking news in the NHL, part of Free Agent Frenzy here on 99.9 The Fan, presented by John Heiser, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep on 99.9 The Fan. Mikael Granlund, who is a player, I know Kevin Weeks of ESPN joined the Adam Gold Show and said Mikael Granlund will make a great fit with Carolina. A little positional versatility, could play the center or the wing, could be a top 6 guy. He's signing a 3-year deal to go to the Anaheim Ducks. He was with the Dallas Stars last year. So the center market, which was already super thin anyway in terms of free agents, that pool is about pinky toe deep. If you want to dip your toe in, pinky toe deep. That's about as deep as the free agent pool is for centers right now. So I don't know the full terms of the deal other than it's a 3-year deal. Mikael Granlund going to the Anaheim Ducks. A 3-year deal that carries a $7 million average annual value. Chris Johnston of The Athletic just posted that, Graham. So Mikael Granlund, 3 years, $7 million a year. $7 million a year for the next 3 years. Mikael Granlund, 34 years old. That's a steep price. Now, here's the thing. Anaheim has the money to spend. Anaheim, they actually have to spend the money. They got to get to the salary cap floor. So that's kind of a wild thing to think about as well for Anaheim. But Anaheim, Mikael Granlund, 3-year deal with the Ducks, carries a $7 million average annual value. So the Carolina Hurricanes will not be getting Mikael Granlund.
So
which stinks.
So going back to being on Miller Watch, as I guess we can now officially
Miller
phrase it.
Watch, folks.
Justin in our YouTube live chat said, as it relates to centers, he asked, or he thinks that the Hurricanes might be trying to get a center involved in the trade as well, or he's speculating maybe that's why it's taken so long, because along with Miller, also trying to get a center from the Rangers as well, maybe like Zibanejad, question mark?
Like Mika Zibanejad. That's interesting. Mika Zibanejad, I think his style of play and his defensive acumen would fit well with Carolina. Here's the thing. He's 32 years old. He is a right-handed player, which is, he's a right-handed center. He's not a small guy, by the way. I've stood next to Mika Zibanejad. He's not a small guy. He's 6'2", 205 pounds or so. So not a small guy. But 5 years left on his contract, Mika Zibanejad. So that's going to take him all the way through the age of 37. He's making $8.5 million a year. He has a full-on no-move clause. Like no movement clause for just about the rest of his contract, outside of maybe the final year of his deal. But he has a full-on no-move clause. A no-movement clause in the NHL means can't be traded, sent to the minors, or waived without player approval. So if they're trying to get Mika Zibanejad from the New York Rangers, Mika Zibanejad has to approve that deal. Like he has to say, yes, I'll waive my no-movement clause. So the player has control in that regard. Now, obviously, the Carolina Hurricanes could maybe ask to see if they can get Vincent Trocheck back, which, I mean, I love Vincent Trocheck. I loved him when he was with the Carolina Hurricanes. He has a 12-team no-trade list. Maybe the Canes are on that no-trade list saying, hey, look, they didn't sign me as when I was a pending free agent with them. They decided to sign Jesperi Kotkaniemi instead. I don't want to go back and play for them anymore. Who knows? I don't know. But he has a 12-team no-trade list, so he has a partial no-trade clause and his contract. So if the Canes are on that list, then guess what? That deal ain't going to happen. Now, like, who are you going to go for? Like Sam Carrick, who's a $1 million player? I don't know if that's a guy that you want to try and bring in if you're Carolina. Now, so if you're trying to get a center, well, then, okay, then you're going to have to include another player in the deal if you're going to try and get Keandre Miller and another player. There's a lot more that's going to get a lot more convoluted, to say the least. Now, I thought the Carolina Hurricanes might go for Mikael Granlund, but Mikael Granlund signing a 3-year contract with the Anaheim Ducks at $7 million. It's the free agent frenzy here on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Adam Gold. This afternoon. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. Yeah, I filled in for Adam so much last week, sometimes it just rolls off the tongue. But it is a free agent frenzy presented by John Heister, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Grant, let's just go ahead and get right into Copper Drop. Let's not, waste anything on the. Let's not waste any time on the ladder challenge. Let's get right into hockey. All Canes related Copper Drop. Graham, take it away.
Fair enough. I'd probably lose my bets again anyways.
Exactly.
Copper Drop. Logan Stankoven will outperform the amount of his newly signed contract.
I mean, I'm going to go ahead and cop that. I mean, I don't know like what you gauge as cop, in terms of like outperform, but I mean, see, I'm just going to go ahead and say yeah. I mean, I think that's a great deal. I think we're going to look at that deal even like 3 years from now, 4 years from now, and go, this dude's only making $6 million a year. Not that not that $6 million is nothing, but everything is relative, right? I mean, you're going to look at the same thing with the Seth Jarvis contract and go, wait, that's it? So, yeah, absolutely. I think that contract's going to be 100% worth it.
Staying on Logan Stankoven, Copper Drop. Now that he is set to stay in Carolina for the next 8 years, he'll be the
9 years.
9 years, excuse me. He'll be the Hurricanes' next generational player.
I mean, I'm curious what you mean by next generational player.
Like, we'll look at Logan Stankoven in the next 9 years that we're looking at Sebastian Aho or Seth Jarvis, like one of the franchise guys.
Oh, like one of the franchise core? I mean, I think he is that now. I mean, you don't sign a guy that's 22 years old and have him locked up for the next 9 years if you don't feel like he's part of that core, of that young group. I mean, like he's a year or so younger than Seth Jarvis is. I mean, no, he's part of that young core. So, I mean, so in this case, I'll cop it. Yeah, I would say that.
All right, now let's get into some crazy hypotheticals out there.
Hit me.
Copper Drop. Brent Burns will be the next Carolina Hurricanes player to receive an extension.
Ooh. So your Copper Drop that he's going to receive an extension with the Canes. Ooh. That's tough.
I told you we're going to get crazy here.
That's tough. No, I mean, that could be realistic. Now, the free agent pool for right-handed defensemen is not very deep. I mean, heck, we saw Tony Giangelo sign a contract today. That's tough because we know how much Brent Burns loves the organization, how much he loves Rob Brind'Amour, how much he loves playing here and just being here with his family in Raleigh. And we all also know how much respect and love and adoration that Rob Brind'Amour has for Brent Burns. This is a tough one. I'll cop it, but I don't think it might be a incentive-laden 1-year contract where it's a base salary of $1 million and if you play in X amount of games, we'll give you X amount of dollars. If you hit these certain, benchmarks, then you can have these incentives. But the role is to be our number 7 defenseman, especially if the Keandre Miller deal does happen. I could see it happen where Brent Burns comes back and is the 7th defenseman on this team, which I think it was noticeable in the playoffs not having an NHL-ready 7th defenseman on the team, like someone that was with your team during the course of the whole season that you can plug in and play right away. We saw during the playoffs when Chatfield went down, when Sean Walker went down, and then rookies like Scott Moore and Alexander Nikishin had to play, it was like, oh, yeah, our top 6 are really good, but we're real thin right after that. Now, again, Scott Morrow has room to grow. Nikishin should be playing with the big club this entire season, but still has a lot of room to grow. So I'll cop that Brent Burns does sign with an extension with the team, but it's going to be in a very, very small role and a very, very small amount of money.
All right, fair enough. Copper drop. The Carolina Hurricanes will use Jackson Blake as a deal in a trade.
Oh, if they make a trade to go get a current player, I'll 100% cop that. I don't think it's going to happen, obviously, with Keandre Miller, because by all accounts, it looks like the New York Rangers are looking for draft compensation as the center part of this. They don't really need to add to their roster in terms of adding salary, because they still have one of the restricted free agents in Will Cooley, who's 23 years old, big body guy who's not afraid to be physical, but put up 25 goals this past season. Bigger body guy, can play on your top 6 as a winger. They want to make sure that they can sign him at least to a bridge deal. So they don't need to add anybody to their roster, even though Jackson Blake is just, on his entry-level contract, but going to be a restricted free agent next year. But if they want to make a move to go get a center, which, by the way, if you're going to go get a center or you want to add a center to your roster, I mean, trading is the way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and go with, Kopp, because he's a young player that another team might say we can have cost control over for the next few years. A young player that put up 17 goals and played in pretty much every game this past season, was healthy, and you feel like can be a 20-plus goal scorer for your team and could be a middle 6 forward for you. I think, absolutely, Jackson Blake could be a team that teams look at. Or a player that teams look at.
This one comes from our YouTube live chat from our good friend Micah. Copper drop. Matt Rempe is in the deal with Keandre Miller.
Drop.
Well, there's our first drop of the segment.
Matt Rempe can't skate. Like, Rempe can't skate with the Canes. Like, he can't skate in this. Matt Rempe, when they played in the playoffs a couple of years ago against the Carolina Hurricanes, was a healthy scratch. Like, Rempe's been a healthy scratch for long stretches. No, this team does not need Matt Rempe. Hard drop.
In the few minutes that we have left, if you're watching on our YouTube live stream and if you want to throw us a copper drop in the chat, please feel free to do so. Yeah. And now we'll read it to Dennis. In the meantime, while we wait for some more copper drops.
No, Micah, we don't need Matt Rempe.
Copper drop. The Hurricanes move Jesperi Kotkaniemi at some point this offseason.
I want to say cop, but I'm going to say drop. I'm going to say drop because you said this offseason. I think if there's a Jesperi Kotkaniemi trade,
it has to be.
I think it's going to happen during the season.
Okay. Oh, during the season.
I think it'll happen during the season. I don't think this team. This is what my gut is just telling me. The roster that we see on opening night won't be the roster that we see on January 1st.
Fair enough.
I think there are going to be some teams that out there that realize, oh crap, we're actually not that good. We're actually kind of out of this thing kind of early. Let's go ahead and try and sell high if we can on some of our players to see how much we can get back. I think that's when you start to see some of the trades and stuff take place. I don't think Kotkaniemi gets traded this offseason, but I think he might be part of something that happens during the year.
There we go. Copper drop. For an asking price of $14 million, the Carolina Hurricanes were better off not signing Mitch Marner.
Yeah, for $14 million, I'll cop that they're better off not signing Mitch Marner for $14 million. Not that they couldn't do it. They have the money to do it. I would have been more comfortable if Mitch Marner, if he would have said, hey, I'll come to you guys for 3 years at 14 or 3 years at 13, I would have been okay with that because guess what? You can move on from that deal quickly, early, move on from it, or just be done with it if it was a shorter-term deal. But, yeah, $14 million, that was probably a little bit more than what I would be willing to pay. You know, it's interesting that Mikko Rantanen signed an 8-year deal at $12 million a year. Mitch Marner signed an 8-year deal at $12 million a year.
We have just a few minutes, and we're starting to get some questions rolling in onto the YouTube live chat. Again, if you want to participate, feel free to type in. This comes from Daniel Stevens. Dennis, Copper Drop, the Canes will not spend to the cap at any point this year.
Not spend to the salary cap at any point this year? I'll cop that. I'll 100% cop that. For the fact that they really don't need to add a whole lot to their roster because they already got 12 forwards under contract. They're going to, I don't think they do it. I think they actually do keep a chunk of their salary cap just kind of sitting there this year to make trades. Hey, if we want to go out there and add somebody at the trade deadline, you got the space to do it. You don't have to worry about playing cap gymnastics. 100%. Absolutely. I 100% cop that they won't spend to the cap this year. Not that they're not willing, because they've been spending to the salary cap a lot in recent seasons. It's just a simple fact they don't have to.
By the way, thank you, Rodney Lewis, for loving the show today. We appreciate it. This one comes from Aiken Carter. Copper Drop, Hurricanes acquire another goaltender with NHL experience before training camp.
I'll cop that. Now that acquisition might be re-signing free agent Spencer Martin. That could be a possibility. The goalie market's really thin. Now, that goalie that they acquire would have to be someone they are comfortable potentially passing through waivers to go down to Chicago of the American Hockey League, much like Spencer Martin has done the last year or so. So that you need to get that type of player in my eyes. Someone that can come in, hey, we need you to come in here and just start 2 games over the next couple of weeks and be okay. Spencer Martin might be that guy that they, quote-unquote, I'll say acquired because he's a free agent right now. He can sign with anybody. He's not a Carolina Hurricane at this moment. He's a free agent. So I would 100% cop that for sure.
We're up against it. Thanks. We appreciate the participation in our YouTube live chat. So I'm going to end on this one. This might be a little bit of a pin drop here.
All right.
Copper Drop. The Carolina Hurricanes will trade Andrei Svechnikov.
Whoo. If you want to get big and bold, you got to do big and bold things. I'll drop it right now. Andrei Svechnikov has a no-trade clause in his contract.
Right now, we'll revisit next week.
So he has a 10-team approved trade list. So basically, I think it's probably today, he had to submit a list of 10 teams to the Carolina Hurricanes saying, hey, you can trade me to any of these 10 teams without having to ask me. 10-team approved trade list. That's what he has built in his contract. So now who those 10 teams are, no idea. Now, the Canes can always obviously approach him and say, hey, this team is wanting to trade for you. They weren't on your list. Would you be willing to waive that no trade to go to this team? He can always say yes or no. But I don't see it happening today. It's The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. On the other side, we have had a lot of Copper Drop, but we were going to hear some of your opinions. Feedback Frenzy coming up on Free Agent Frenzy next.
Hey, it's Adam Gold, and I know the hurricane season came to an end. Another year with a loss to Florida in the Eastern Conference Finals, 2 of the last 3. But it's been a great year, and it's going to be a great summer with all that cap room the Hurricanes have. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, from free agency to trades to the draft. We'll have player interviews, special sit-down with Rod Brindamore that he doesn't even know about yet. He'll do it, don't worry. Just stay tuned to the Canes Corner podcast on YouTube. Search Canes Corner and wherever you get your podcast.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was going to unclog itself. Green Gobbler, Let the gobbler get it.
Maxed out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt? You can pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is A+ rated by the BBB and have nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Their service is off the charts. Call now to start the conversation. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760. Get debt relief now. Loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781 on approved credit. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/joy, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington.
Keeshan back in his own zone makes a nice play away from Rodriguez.
Keeshan looks the part again. There he goes.
Now he'll backhand one up Stankoven. Stankoven with a shot. He scores! Logan Stankoven! And for the first time in this series, the Canes have a lead.
I remember that shot. I remember that shot by Logan Stankoven against the Florida Panthers. What an absolute rip. Coming down the left wing, right, got to just inside the top of the circle, goes near side high corner. Oh, beautiful shot by Logan Stankoven. And he's going to be with this team for the next 9 years. It's a drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. Graham Hill producing the show. It is a free agent frenzy presented by Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington. It's a free agent frenzy, and we also turn to you, what you all say as part of the conversation as we hit a feedback frenzy.
All right, a lot of our feedback is going to come, of course, from our conversation regarding free agent frenzy. Started with our conversation yesterday on Mitch Marner trade to Vegas. Florida re-signs Marchand. This comes from Jesse Lancaster 7. I'm kind of relieved. I definitely would not have been mad at getting him regarding Mitch Marner, but the playoff record was a concern.
It's interesting how people bring up the playoff record for Mitch Marner. Not that Mitch Marner obviously has been great in the playoffs, but let's keep this in mind when it comes to Mitch Marner and the playoff record. He's not a starting pitcher. You know, like people bring up his playoff record. I was like, well, all these Toronto fans that are loving the fact that John Tavares stuck around with the Toronto Maple Leafs this offseason. Like, oh, look at John Tavares. He took a hometown discount to stay with the team. Well, yeah, he was also in the playoffs with Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, all these guys. Maybe the problem, actually, it wasn't always Mitch Marner. Maybe the problem was also the center that he was playing with in Austin Matthews, who completely disappeared in the postseason. This is a guy that put up like 60-plus goals multiple times in his career. Then in the offseason, goes quiet. Let's not forget in the Four Nations, by the way, when Canada beat the United States in the championship of the Four Nations in overtime, you know who made the play on the Connor McDavid game-winning goal? You know who made the play along the boards to get the puck and sent the pass over to Connor McDavid? It's Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner was the one that made the play. You know who the puck happened to go right by on that play? Austin Matthews. So maybe it's not all a Mitch Marner problem. Toronto fans, man, you want to talk about bullying somebody out of town. Golly, Toronto fans, quit projecting your problems onto Mitch Marner alone. Not saying Mitch Marner is a perfect player or by any means above reproach when it comes to the playoff struggles of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but hey, Leafs fans, last time you checked, y'all haven't won a cup since the mid-'60s. Is that because of Mitch Marner? You've won, I think, was it 2 playoff series this century? Or 3 this entire century? Is that because of Mitch Marner? Or is it because your franchise sucks? All right, next one.
Well, this one definitely might be coming from a Carolina Hurricanes fan. This is staying on Mitch Marner as well.
All right.
We didn't need another pass-first guy. Only thing to be disappointed about is Ekblad and Bennett. Again, that was from yesterday, so there might be a lot more to be disappointed about.
Yeah, I understand like the mindset of a pass-first guy. I get it. The Carolina Hurricanes do have too many guys that might be a little bit too pass-heavy, pass-first. Guys that you wish would have a shoot-first mentality, including Andrei Svechnikov, who sees himself as a playmaker. It's like, no, dude, just shoot the puck. Just go to the net, drive to the net, shoot the puck. I mean, I don't mind a pass-first guy that puts up 100-plus points. I mean, I think the Carolina Hurricanes would love, or even Canes fans would love a pass-first guy that has a 100-point season. Because a pass-first guy that has a 100-point season is still a 30-goal scorer, which this team would love to have that. All right, next one.
Next one comes from Squirrels6117. And
okay, Squirrels.
This one might be a little bit of a troll, and you'll see why, but I still want to read this out here. Now the narrative shifts to McDavid or something next season. We should never let Jesse Puljujarvi go. That was our future. Rantanen is smoking cigars while our arena is up in blaze.
Wait, hold on. Jesse Puljujarvi was our future?
Again, that's why I said it could be just a troll, but
Jesse Puljujarvi,
the fact
leading Abbotsford of the American Hockey League to a Calder Trophy. Yeah, that Jesse Puljujarvi really worked out, that guy.
The fact that they just pulled that name just got me.
I don't even know if I want to give that comment any sort of attention, Graham.
Well, how about this one from our YouTube live chat? This comes from Micah. Allow Nikishin to be on the third pairing on his natural side, said in his first season, said a lot better than playing him on his offhand.
Yeah, allowing Nikishin to be a third pair guy to start things off in his career, to grow and get used to playing in the NHL, get used to playing in North America. I don't hate the idea of it, but the question is, who else pairs with who? I think that's kind of a major question. Is that if Nikishin does play on a third pair, okay, great. Who does Shane Gostisbehere play alongside? Does Gostisbehere play alongside Jalen Chatfield? Again, who plays alongside Jacob Slavin? Because eventually you can always move Alexander Nikishin up the lineup. And in an ideal world, letting Alexander Nikishin be a quote-unquote third-pair defenseman starting off in his career playing 16, 17, 18 minutes a night, allowing him to play on the power play, sounds great. I like the idea of that, but I don't know, again, how things turn, in terms of pairing, how things work out. I don't know if, again, starting him off right away, playing him on his offside alongside Jacob Slavin right from the get-go is the smart decision. I don't know if that's going to be too much of a learning curve. Hey, go play your offside in your first NHL season and also get top pair minutes. It's a lot to ask for any young player. Even if he has all the potential in the world, it's still a lot to ask a young player. Any more, Graham? We have breaking news. What's going on? Breaking news. Graham hit the breaking news sounder. Graham, what is it?
Elliot Friedman replied to his tweet 4 hours ago about here in New York working on sending Keandre Miller to Carolina. He followed up 2 minutes ago. A few of you asked me to update this. We will get clarity eventually. A long, short story. The Hurricanes looked at an offer sheet for Miller, and the two teams worked out a trade instead. I expect the return to be along the lines of what offer sheet compensation would look like.
Okay. So the update is there's no full update. Is that the deal? Okay.
Somebody in the YouTube live chat was like, we have an update on Miller, and I just went straight into producer mode.
All right, we'll get clarity. Okay. A few of you have asked me to update this. We will get clarity eventually. Long story short, Hurricanes looked at an offer sheet for Miller, which is something I mentioned earlier. Had someone be like, that's not how trades work. I'm like, yeah, but that's how offer sheets work. The Hurricanes looked at an offer sheet for Keandre Miller, and the two teams worked out a trade instead. I'd expect the return to be along the lines of what an offer sheet compensation would look like. Okay, Graham, we need to take a break. On the other side, we'll talk a little bit more about this potential trade for Keandre Miller and more on the starting five as the free agent frenzy continues on 99.9 The Fan.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
With free agency coming up, I don't know a lot about economics, but I know this. When there's a little supply, it's going to make the demand high. There's not many centers out there, and the Canes need one, so just be prepared for this. Either you're going to get a player you like, but the cost is going to be too much, or you're going to get a player you don't like, but you like the cost. You can't have it all.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
It's bow time. Something new just dropped at Bojangles. Take the bold taste of a crispy golden chicken supreme that's been seasoned to perfection, then add dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, and a toasted bun that's great on the go. What do you get? You get a Bo's Bird Dog. In fact, you can grab 2 of them for $5. So when you're on the go, headed to practice, or need a snack, grab a Bo's Bird Dog. Hurry in before they're gone. Available for a limited time. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time, but sometimes it's go time. No time to stop, but the perfect time for a Bojangles Bird Dog. A seasoned to perfection Bojangles Chicken Supremes, dill pickles, and Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, all tucked inside a toasted bun. Great on the go. Try 2 bird dogs for just $5 or 2 bird dog combo for just $8.25. Available for limited time only. When you're hungry for flavor and value, it's bow time.
Black isn't just a color. It's the presence of infinite possibilities. It's the moment before everything changes. An invitation to something unforgettable.
I won.
Win up to $4 million with Carolina Black Premier from the North Carolina Education Lottery. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning are 1 in 4.18. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
I'm attorney Brian Ritchie. Getting hurt in a car wreck comes with all kinds of stress and frustration. But when you call me, I'll be on top of all of it. So all you need to worry about is getting better. If you've been injured in a car wreck, I'm on top of it. Contact us at ritchielaw.com.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington. Broadcasting live from the Lenovo Studios. WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. 99.9 The Fan. The Triangle Sports Leader.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm WRL meteorologist Mike May. Showers and storms are in the forecast tonight. Some could be strong, maybe severe. It's about a 60% chance, 73. 70% chance for showers and storms tomorrow. Focus more on the first part of the day. The high at 85.
Weather update brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. 5 o'clock check of your money. Dow Jones up 400 points at 44,494.
It's 5 o'clock. Time to serve up the biggest sports stories of the day. Here comes your starting five.
It's a drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. Graham, I know normally we do the starting five at this time, but there's still some different stuff and reports coming out of the Carolina Hurricanes, so let's just go ahead and let's just continue the free agent frenzy for the Carolina Hurricanes. I know normally we do like a starting five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead and just do the free agent frenzy. Go ahead and actually, if you want to hit the number 5, we can make this number 5 if we want to, because why not?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gets the shot through, they score! He put some stank on it. Logan Stankoven's first goal in his first game. And it's all the new guys here in Raleigh.
Okay, so for those who may have missed it earlier today, Logan Stankoven did sign a contract extension with the Carolina Hurricanes. 8-year deal on top of the final year of his entry-level contract coming in. So we do have Logan Stankoven news. We got that. That happened at like 11 o'clock today. Don't worry, we're going to discuss Logan Stankoven here in just a minute. But the big news for the Carolina Hurricanes outside of Logan Stankoven is actually something that hasn't even happened yet, or may not even happen. So about 4 hours ago, Graham, Elliot Friedman, who works for Sportsnet up in Canada, who is like the insider of insiders when it comes to hockey, right? So for those who may follow the NBA, like Shams Charania, or what Adrian Wojnarowski used to be, or for people that might follow the NFL, who Adam Schefter is, like those, he's on that level, okay? He posted on social media about 4 hours ago. Here in the New York Rangers are working on sending Keandre Miller to Carolina. Keandre Miller, the defenseman, 25-year-old, restricted free agent, big guy, 6'5", 209, 210 pounds. Damn good skater, like elite level skater, especially for a guy his size. Great skater, has all the physical tools, especially that fits Carolina, has great offensive upside, also brings a little bit of snarl and physicality as well on the blue line, something that this team needs. He brings that. So Carolina looking to acquire Keandre Miller, again, restricted free agent. Elliot Friedman about 10 minutes ago, Graham, said this, said, quote, responding back, like replying to his own post on Twitter, saying, quote, a few of you asked me to update this. We will get clarity eventually. A long story short, the Hurricanes looked at an offer sheet for Keandre Miller, and the two teams worked out a trade instead. I'd expect the return to be along the lines of what offer sheet compensation would look like. So, Graham, that's what Elliot Friedman said. So, Graham Hill, again, producing the show today. Here is what offer sheet compensation would look like for a restricted free agent this offseason. So if the Carolina Hurricanes, now here's the key component when it comes to offer sheets and restricted free agency. The draft pick compensation that will go back to another team if you were to sign a player on an offer sheet has to be your picks. It can't be picks that you acquire from other teams. They have to be your draft picks. So the Canes have a first-round draft pick from the Dallas Stars in 2026. That does not factor into any sort of compensation at all when it comes to offer sheets. They have to be your picks, all right? The Canes have their first-round pick and their second-round pick in 2026. They don't have their third-round pick in 2026. That is currently owned by the Washington Capitals. That was part of the Evgeny Kuznetsov trade, okay? Evgeny Kuznetsov when he got traded for back in 2024 at the trade deadline, all right? So I brought up the example of if they wanted to sign Keandre Miller to a contract and the compensation per year fell between $2.34 million and $4.68 million, that'd be a second-round draft choice. That would be the compensation. If you fell into the 4.68 to just over $7 million, so let's say you wanted to sign Keandre Miller to a 4-year contract at $5 million a year, Graham. Well, the compensation for that is a first-round and third-round choice. So Carolina couldn't do an offer sheet at, let's say, $5 million a year because they don't have their third-round pick in 2026. If you sign an offer sheet in 2025, you use draft picks from 2026 as part of the compensation that goes back to the other team if they decide to not match the offer. So let's say Carolina, Graham, wants to sign Keandre Miller to a 4-year contract at, let's say, $5.5 million a year. Okay? 4-year contract, $5.5 million a year. If the compensation as part of this trade is equivalent to the offer sheet compensation, then we're talking about a first-round pick and a third-round pick going back to New York or something equivalent to that. Now, maybe it's hey, look, we don't have a third-round pick in 2026. Will you take our third-round pick in 2027? Would you take that? Because the Canes actually do have 2 third-round picks in 2027, part of the trade with Logan Stankoven and Mikko Rantanen. Hey, we'll give you the higher of our 2 first-round picks in the first round because they have the first-round pick from Dallas and a third-round pick in 2027. Maybe it's something along those lines, Graham. So that is part of the whole thing that Elliot Friedman talked about, the compensation going back from Carolina to New York. Now, again, he said we'll get some clarity soon. The fact that he is still posting about it even a few hours later still gives me an idea of this is still ongoing. This deal has not fallen through. That's the way I view it. This deal has not stalled or has fallen through.
I mean, there's 3 things that the Hurricanes are trying to work through right now. There's 3 different factors. Hurricanes front office, and then, of course, Keandre Miller, then Keandre Miller's agent as well. I mean, there's a lot of law negotiating phone calls I'm sure are going back and forth right now, which is why it was first reported that Eric Tulsky, it might take him an hour to 2 hours to officially talk with the media.
Yeah, because he's still trying to work all this stuff. So Eric Tulsky was set to talk to the media at around 3-ish today, but still working out the stuff on this Keandre Miller deal and potentially some other stuff going on right now that he wasn't able to talk to the media today. So again, all things that we have to just kind of keep in mind when this is coming up. So Carolina Hurricanes looking for potentially a trade with the New York Rangers for Keandre Miller. That's something that's still in the works. Okay? So that's number 5, Graham. We'll keep the free agent frenzy going, but go and hit the number 4 here on the starting 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, all together.
23 power play points last year. Kicked it back to Caulfield, broke it up. Here's a break, 2-on-1. Marner across, can't hit too deep. Marner scores, and they do have their first shorthanded goal of the year.
All right, so some different things have taken place as again. Free agent frenzy continues here on 99.9 The Fan, presented by John Heiser, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Lillington. Free agent frenzy, we're breaking down all the news. There's some other big things that have taken place. Obviously, we'll keep you updated on if something happens with the Keandre Miller potential trade for the Carolina Hurricanes. Graham, keep refreshing the feeds, keep us updated. But some big names did move today. Now, most of the big signings happened yesterday, and by big signings, I mean Brad Marchand staying with the Florida Panthers. Aaron Ekblad, the defenseman, staying with the Florida Panthers. We knew Sam Bennett a few days ago was staying with the Florida Panthers. We also saw Mitch Marner sign and trade to go to the Vegas Golden Knights. 8-year deal, $12 million a year. So a lot of the big names really didn't even hit the open market in free agency in the NHL this year. But some of the guys that actually did hit free agency for the Carolina or in the NHL that Carolina Hurricanes could potentially be interested in is the big one is Nikolai Ehlers, the forward from the Winnipeg Jets. A consistent run of 20, 25 plus goals scored in the NHL. Still hasn't signed yet. Graham, still a free agent that's pending out there. Still a pending free agent is Nikolai Ehlers. And we actually did hear earlier today that apparently Ehlers is considering just waiting a day or two before he actually fully makes his decision about what he wants to do.
Other things coming out of the free agent frenzy. Here in the New York Rangers have agreed to terms with Will Cooley.
Oh, Will Cooley? Okay.
Will Cooley, for 2 years, $3.9 million.
Okay.
Elliot Friedman just reported
Okay,
that.
Friedman just reported that. So that was actually a big thing for... That's actually a big thing for the for the New York Rangers. Will Cooley sticking around. Will Cooley was the guy that was potentially going to be a player that other teams would offer sheet to potentially sign away from the New York Rangers. So a 2-year deal for Will Cooley, that's like a bridge deal, which will probably still be a restricted free agent in a couple years when he signs, or when that deal does expire, but at least it keeps a young player who a lot of teams are coveting. Big physical winger that can play in your top six, can score, and also can be a little bit gritty as well.
Elliot Friedman also reposted from the Pittsburgh Penguins. This former Hurricane right here. The Penguins have acquired a 2028 third-round draft pick from the San Jose Sharks in exchange for goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic.
Oh, former Kane Alex Nedeljkovic.
Pittsburgh now has 28 draft picks over the next 3 NHL drafts, including 16 picks in the first 3 rounds.
Well, that team needs to rebuild. I also it's very interesting that you bring this up, Graham, about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, just looking at some of the other moves that are taking place in the NHL. For example, Brock Besser staying with the Vancouver Canucks, which kind of shocked everybody. But I know there are some conversations about the Carolina Hurricanes possibly being interested in Erik Karlsson of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Erik Karlsson might be a name that gets dealt. The right-handed defenseman has 2 years left on his contract. He has currently a $10 million cap hit with the Pittsburgh Penguins because the San Jose Sharks are still paying retain some of his salary. So it's a $10 million cap hit for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Erik Karlsson was given a $5 million payment up front as part of his contract. Was given a $5 million payment today. So teams might be looking at the Erik Karlsson potential trade and go, well, I don't have to fork over that $5 million in cash. Erik Karlsson might be someone that we can give up a pick for if we're in a window that can win right now or the next 2 years. He has 2 years left on his contract. There are reports out there that Carolina could potentially go after Erik Karlsson. If they're going after Keandre Miller, they're not going to get Erik Karlsson. But don't be shocked if you see the Pittsburgh Penguins still continue to offload some players and continue to trade and acquire assets. They're like the one team right now that is actually looking to kind of strip it down a little bit and rebuild or reset themselves. Don't be surprised if Brian Rust or Ricard Raquel get traded at some point. I think some of the trades and stuff might happen maybe tomorrow or Thursday or even into next week in that kind of second wave of free agency. Because again, the free agent pool today is very, very shallow.
We do have some news for the Carolina Hurricanes. It doesn't involve DeAndre Miller, but still.
I mean Keandre?
Keandre, sorry.
Yes.
I'm thinking DeAndre Fox.
Yeah.
Ryan Hinkle reposted this. The Carolina Hurricanes have signed 31-year-old unrestricted free agent left-hander Mike Riley to a 1-year, $1.1 million contract.
Okay.
Seems like just a depth piece that they might be adding to.
Yeah, Mike Riley, 1-year contract, $1.1 million, 31 years old. That's 100%. That's 100%. Hey, we need you to be our 7th defenseman, which is something that you and I kind of talked about a little bit ago. Again, breaking news. Mike Riley, again, just a kind of a depth player. So we did see the Carolina Hurricanes. By the way, Mike Riley this past year played for the New York Islanders, played 18 games. He played 59 games a couple years ago with the New York Islanders as well. Again, he's been a 7th defenseman pretty much his whole career. You never know. He might be a player that they try and send through waivers to play in Chicago possibly. But Mike Riley is a player that is going to be your seventh defenseman. Not going to play a whole lot. Hey, a guy's a little bit nicked up today. We can plug you in on our third defensive pair. Play 8 minutes, 10 minutes. We don't have to worry about losing a beat. And then when somebody gets healthy, then we're good to go. Or we can bring up Scott Moore or whomever it might be. We have more?
And as Micah points out in the YouTube live chat, one of the big issues of Scott Moore playing was that they had no seventh defenseman.
Yes, 100%. So we saw that in the playoffs last year when both Jalen Chatfield and Sean Walker both went down. Not having an NHL-ready seventh defenseman on your team hurt them in the playoffs, the Carolina Hurricanes. It definitely had a major impact. So a guy like Mike Riley can be that seventh defenseman. Let Scott Morrow continue to develop and grow in the American Hockey League. Call him up when necessary, but if you need a day, like if, let's say, for example, like Gostisbehere, like takes a puck off the inside of the knee and you're on the second game of a back-to-back and it's just kind of stiff, hey, Mike Riley, go in there and play for 8 minutes tonight, 10 minutes tonight.
Right.
And we'll get through this game, allow that player just to sit for a night, and then guess what? All good to go the next game. That's what this team definitely needs to have for sure. So again, that's number 5. Let's go ahead. That's number 4. Let's go ahead and jump to number 3 as free agent frenzy continues here on 99.9 The Fan.
Yeah, Steve has been kind of a guy that's been a resource. We went down last year to RFK Racing and met with he and his staff and talked about, it's like I think it's 70 to 80% of the revenue in NASCAR are from sponsors.
That's actually words of Bubba Cunningham, North Carolina. So we're actually going to step away from hockey here for just a quick second. Graham, I know you talked about this earlier today when you were hosting Next Up. It looks like North Carolina, we're going to talk about this probably a little bit more tomorrow, but North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, the Tar Heels that is, might have a successor already in place now for Bubba Cunningham, have their next athletic director in place.
Yeah, Bubba Cunningham is not going anywhere, but it sounds like they have a partnership coming in where Steve Newmark, who has worked in NASCAR and has done a lot of sponsorship, is going to come in and is pretty much going to be the athletic director in waiting while Bubba Cunningham finishes out his contract, and then Bubba's going to move kind of into an assistant admissions role. Still trying to find the official report. I know I talked about it on Next Up earlier, but I just kind of touched on it. But basically, Carolina has their new athletic director in waiting that can focus more on revenue sharing and sponsorship and just this new day of modern athletics that we're seeing in college.
Okay, there it is. So for our North Carolina fans, looks like there's a successor to Bubba Cunningham. Again, something that we're going to probably dive more into tomorrow here on 99.9 The Fan. But we wanted to make sure that you guys did hear the news out there. Real quick, let's go to a number 2 here real fast.
Just the two of us.
Not only is July 1st the start of NHL Free Agency, NHL Free Agency, which is obviously a big thing for us when it comes to the Carolina Hurricanes. But happy Bobby Bonilla Day. He's still getting paid from the New York Mets. All that deferred money that he pushed out on his contract. By the way, shout outs to him. Every year, getting a check, if I remember correctly, it's like $1.9 million or $1.29, I can't remember what it is. But hey, he's getting 7 figures on July 1st again.
One of the dumbest sports contracts of all time. I mean, not for him, but
I think it's one of the greatest. For him, it's one of the best.
Yeah, for him, he loves it, every single second of it.
Hey, you know what? Smart move on his part. Continue has money coming in even after retirement. So happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Still getting paid for the New York Mets. We always have to give a shout out on Bobby Bonilla Day. All right, Graham, let's get back to the free agent frenzy. Let's get to number 1.
Go one! To Sanheim. Taken away by Miller. Keandre Miller breaks in. He's tripped. Goes to the net and scores! What a goal!
All right, so the free agent frenzy continues. 2 big things regarding the Carolina Hurricanes. Number 1, we got news at about 11 o'clock this morning that the Carolina Hurricanes are signing Logan Stankoven to an 8-year contract extension. Now, the extension does not kick in until next year. He's in the final year of his entry-level contract, so he'll play that final year of his entry-level contract this upcoming year. Logan Stankoven will. And then it's 8 years of $6 million a year of Logan Stankoven. So he's going to be a Carolina Hurricane for 9 more seasons. Absolutely love that for the Carolina Hurricanes. It's amazing how you watch a player play and you go, yeah, that's a Carolina Hurricane. Like, you watch Logan Stankoven play, you're like, oh, that guy fits everything that this team is trying to do, everything that this team wants to do, the mentality, everything that's part of it. The only thing that really is preventing him from really being like a top guy is just the fact that he's just a smaller player. But everything about him screams tenacity, effort, but also skill and ability as well. I think we're going to look at this contract in about 3 years and say, man, we're only paying this. Logan Stankoven was only getting paid $6 million. That's it. That's it. I love that. That's such a great deal for the Carolina Hurricanes. And also good for Logan Stankoven. He's going to make $6 million a year over 8-year stretch starting a year from now when that contract actually kicks in. Like, congrats to him. I mean, for a lot of players, that's security. He'll turn 31 in the final year of that contract. He'll turn 31 years of age in February of that final year of that contract.
And just think about how good he was in his rookie season.
Yeah.
And we get him for 9 more years. We get to see him develop right before our eyes.
You're going to get him not only for his growth years, which is really, I look at growth years in sports as, obviously when you're 18, there's, basically college age, there's that growth. But when we get to professional, there's still growth years from like 21, 22 to about 25, 26. And then you're really in prime years from like 26 to 30, maybe 31. And you can still be at that peak, but generally you're not going to be still ascending, when you're in your 30s. You're going to get not only Logan Stankoven for the growth years and the ascension, but the peak and prime years as well. And that's something that Carolina does a great job of finding. So Logan Stankoven, Andrei Svechnikov, Seth Jarvis, Sebastian Aho, Jacob Slavin, all these guys locked up long-term. Long-term. Kotkaniemi's locked up long-term. We'll see how much longer he's going to be a Carolina Hurricane. But the other news, so again, Logan Stankoven, props to Stanky, sticking around for this team. He's going to be here for a long, long time. I love the signing. Canes fans love him. We're going to see a lot more Stankoven jerseys at the Lenovo Center coming up. But the big news regarding the Carolina Hurricanes, again, is something that has not actually happened yet. But there is conversations between the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes about signing, or at least trading for and then signing Keandre Miller, the defenseman from the New York Rangers to the Carolina Hurricanes. So about 4.5 hours ago, we did hear from Elliot Friedman. It was about 1 o'clock, I'd say. We heard from Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, posted on social media saying, here in the New York Rangers working on sending Keandre Miller, the defenseman, to Carolina. And Friedman, about 30 minutes ago, Graham said, a few of you asked me to update this. We will get clarity eventually. A long story short, the Hurricanes looked at an offer sheet for Miller, and the two teams worked out a trade instead. I'd expect the return to be along the lines of what an offer sheet compensation would look like. So, what would an offer sheet compensation look like for Keandre Miller? If, let's say, for example, right now that Carolina is negotiating that contract with Keandre Miller's agent, and they reach an agreement on, let's say, a 5-year deal or 4-year deal at $5 million a year, or $5.5 million a year, even $6 million a year. Somewhere in that range of about $4.7 million to $7 million total. If they're in that range, the compensation on an offer sheet is a first-round pick and a third-round pick. Now, it has to be your own picks. It can't be picks you got from other teams. So it has to be 2026 draft picks. Canes don't have their own 2026 draft pick in the third round. That belongs to the Washington Capitals right now. That was part of the Evgeny Kuznetsov trade. When the Canes got Evgeny Kuznetsov from the Washington Capitals, in 2024 at the trade deadline. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, is that if they want to send a first and a third for Keandre Miller, that third-round pick might not be till 2027. All things you got to keep in mind. Maybe there's a condition on that first-round pick. They have a first-round pick in 2026 from the Dallas Stars. Maybe it's the highest of those two picks goes to New York, along with a third-round pick to get Keandre Miller. We'll have to wait and see. We're going to keep you updated. If anything breaking news happens, trust me, we're going to keep it to you right here on 99.9 The Fan. It is The Drive on 99.9 The Fan. It is Free Agent Frenzy, presented by John Heister, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep in Lillington. We're keeping you updated on all things going on in the NHL, especially with the Carolina Hurricanes. But, Graham, just because we have Free Agent Frenzy going on, that doesn't mean we still don't do the numbers game, Graham. We need 2 contestants to play this number game. Call 919-860-5326. Again, 919-860-5326 for your chance to compete in the numbers game and win a pair of tickets to see The Offspring with Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory at Coastal Credit Union Music Park on Wednesday, July 16th. We need 2 contestants. Pair of tickets on the line. Got to play the numbers game in order to win. And if you win the numbers game, you win a pair of tickets to see The Offspring with Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory, Coastal Credit Union Music Park. 919-860-5326. Numbers game coming up next.
Canes fans, your team will be turned upside down.
I said upside down, you're turning me. You're giving love instinctively. Round and round, you're turning me.
Listen all week for our coverage of the Canes Free Agent Frenzy. Instant reaction to all the Canes additions and moves, and the latest signings from across the NHL. It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy on 99.9 The Fan. Driven by John Heister, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram in Lillington. Get off your keister and get to Heister.
Westwood One Sports presents this special tennis update. It's been a turbulent day at Wimbledon, featuring a handful of top seeds sent packing early. Perhaps the biggest shocker, second-seeded Coco Gauff is out. She was upset by unseeded Ukrainian Diana Yastremska in her opening round match today, 7-6-6-1, thus ending her bid at the Channel Slam. Third-seeded Alexander Zverev was knocked out by France's Artur Rinderknecht in a 5-set thriller. Seventh-seeded Lorenzo Musetti also out. And so are third-seeded Jessica Pegula, fifth-seeded Qinwen Zhang, and 15th-seeded Karolina Mukova. Right now, the clock is ticking toward the 11 p.m. curfew. On center court, 7-time Wimbledon champ Novak Djokovic is leading Frenchman Alexander Mueller 2-1. As for the winners on day 2, Yannick Sinner, Jack Draper, Taylor Fritz, Ben Shelton, Tommy Paul, Emma Navarro, and 5-time Grand Slam champ Iga Swiatek. With this tennis update, I'm Erica Herskowitz, Westwood One Sports.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
That'll be 30 even.
That's 90 points! Sorry, that was a lot. Now that I'm getting 3 times the points on food and fuel with the Navy Federal More Rewards American Express card, I get a little too hyped sometimes.
Cool. Why do you like your receipt?
In the bag! Sorry, in the bag, please.
Learn more about the everyday, everywhere Navy Federal More Rewards American Express card at NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram in Lillington.
It's The Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Don't worry, we're continuing the free agent frenzy coming up, but we got to play the numbers game, Graham. On the line, there's a pair of tickets to see The Offspring with Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory at Coastal Credit Union Music Park on July 16th. Our contestants for today, we have Asa in Wake Forest, and we have John in Wake Forest as well. We're going to ask a question. Graham's going to choose his favorite answer to decide who goes first. If there's a tie in the numbers game, whomever goes first will be the winner. Unless there's a 5-for-5 situation, that's a little bit different. But let's go ahead and bring Asa on first. Asa, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, Asa, 4th of July is coming up. If you have a cookout on a holiday, like a 4th of July, a holiday weekend, what's your number one thing on the grill on a holiday?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, obviously you got to have some burgers and some dogs up there, but I love a good bratwurst on the grill.
Okay, bratwurst on the grill. Graham, any questions?
John, it might be hard to top that answer because I love me a good bratwurst.
Hey! Don't influence any decisions right now. Just ask if you have any questions here, Graham.
No questions at all. Just
okay.
A hungry stomach now.
All right, Asa, stay on the line. Let's bring on John. John, you have a cookout, you have a holiday weekend, you got stuff on the grill. What's your number one thing on the grill on a holiday weekend?
Well, I agree with Asa that hot dogs and hamburgers are a July 4th classic, but I got to be honest, my family sometimes does a pig picking, so we do a whole hog, and that's really good.
Oh, okay. Graham, you decide. Bratwursts or full pig picking?
John, even though I know you're calling from Wake Forest, nothing screams Eastern North Carolina like a pig picking.
That's
and
true.
then if you want to throw a curveball, with it being on the 4th of July, I absolutely love it. I got to go with John in Wake Forest.
Okay, John in Wake Forest, you're going to go first. Don't worry, Asa, you stay on the line. Bratwurst, also tremendous answer as well. Also tremendous answer. All right, John, I'm going to give you a list of 4 categories here for the numbers game. You get to decide. All right, the 4 categories that we have here for the numbers game are NFL, players who have been traded. So these are all NFL players currently active who have been traded at some point in their careers. We have NFL born in Washington State. So these are all players born in the state of Washington. NBA, all about the triple-doubles. These are all active NBA players who have had at least multiple triple-doubles in their career. We also have NHL Hurricanes throughout history.
Let's go with the NFL traded active players.
Okay, so NFL players who all have been traded, currently active players who all have been traded. So 30 seconds on the clock. I'm going to give you the name of the player and the team. You have to give us the jersey number. All right? 30 seconds, trying to get all 5 names in 30 seconds or less. You do get 1 pass. Do you have any questions, John?
Good to go.
All right, your time will start when you hear the horn. Jalen Ramsey, Miami Dolphins.
Number 5.
Correct. Minka Fitzpatrick, Pittsburgh Steelers.
29.
Incorrect. Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets.
8.
Correct. Deontay Johnson, Carolina Panthers.
11.
Incorrect. Minka Fitzpatrick, Pittsburgh Steelers.
28.
Incorrect. Deontay Johnson, Carolina Panthers.
19.
Incorrect. Minka Fitzpatrick, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pass.
Christian McCaffrey, Carolina Panthers.
22.
After the buzzer. That's the correct answer, but it's after the buzzer. So you did get 2. You got Jalen Ramsey, Miami Dolphins, number 5. Aaron Rodgers, number 8 with the New York Jets. Deontay Johnson with the Carolina Panthers wore number 5.
All right.
Christian McCaffrey, you said after the buzzer, number 22. You were kind of teetering close with Minka Fitzpatrick. You said 29 for Minka. He wore 39 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay? So you got 2, John. Stay on the line. Let's see if Asa can beat your score. Asa, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, Asa. 3 categories for you to choose from. You have NFL born in Washington State. NBA, all about the triple-doubles. Again, all active players with multiple triple-doubles in their career. And NHL Hurricanes throughout history.
Let's go with NBA triple-doubles.
Okay, NBA triple-doubles. All right, again, 30 seconds on the clock. I'm going to give you the name of the player and the team. You got to give me the jersey number. You have to beat 2. 30 seconds on the clock. You have to beat 2 in order to win, okay? Tie doesn't do you any good. You got to beat 2. Asa, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, time starts when you hear the horn. LeBron James, Los Angeles Lakers.
23.
Correct. John Morant, Memphis Grizzlies.
12.
Correct. Markelle Fultz, Orlando Magic.
0.
Incorrect. Kevin Love, Miami Heat.
42.
Correct. Markelle Fultz, Orlando Magic. Markelle Fultz, Orlando Magic. Well, Asa, you got 3. Are you still there? Asa, you there?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is. We lost you for a
Oh.
second there. Did you even
Sorry
say an
about
answer
that.
for Markelle Fultz?
I said number 1.
No, well, number 1 was wrong. We didn't correct. But you got 3, which is
Perfect.
exactly what you needed. So you cut off at the right time. LeBron James, LA Lakers, we would have accepted number 6 or 23, so you got that correct. John Morant, Memphis Grizzlies, number 12. Kevin Love, still active in the league, 42 for the Miami Heat. And then Markelle Fultz actually wears number 20 for the Orlando Magic. Wears number 20.
Yep.
By the way, Markelle Fultz has 2 triple-doubles in his career. Kevin Love has 3 triple-doubles in his career. John Morant, 12 triple-doubles in his career. And LeBron James, 122 triple-doubles in his career.
Wow.
So, yes. So, Asa, congratulations. You are winner today, sir. Congratulations. You are the winner of the numbers game. You won a pair of tickets to see The Offspring with Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory at Coastal Credit Union Music Park on July 16th. Stick on the line. Graham's going to get some information from you. And go enjoy the concert, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a great day.
You as well. And enjoy the brats on the grill. And also shout out to John, who competed in the numbers game as well. A pig picking on a 4th of July. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. All right, folks. Dennis Cox here for my friends over at Loan Pronto. Folks, maybe you're maxed out on your credit cards. Maybe you're struggling with high interest debt. You can pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. It's a massive turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Listen, folks, your home equity, it's yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is A+ rated by the BBB and have nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Their service, it's off the charts. Call now to start the conversation. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Get debt relief now. Again, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. It's the Drive with Tim Donnelly on 99.9 The Fan. Dennis Cox sitting in for Tim Donnelly this afternoon. It is a free agent frenzy going on in the NHL right now. By the way, Graham, still keeping, reposting the feeds, still trying to figure out if this Keandre Miller trade has officially gone through yet or not. Haven't seen anything official about Keandre Miller from the New York Rangers, the defenseman possibly getting traded to the Carolina Hurricanes. Haven't seen anything yet. Wait, what? What is it?
Elliot Friedman.
Go on.
Tweeting his tweet from 4 hours ago about New York working on sending Miller to Carolina.
Yeah.
Hearing this will be a sign and trade between the Rangers and the Hurricanes. Miller contract will come in at 8 years, $60 million.
Whoa! Okay, 8 years, $60 million as possible sign and trade. Graham, that's the tease, folks. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side. Keandre Miller looks like sign and trade coming to Carolina. Stick around, folks. Have that next.
The Adam Gold Show.
Look, I know Carolina's got a lot of money to spend, about $29 million in cap room, but I want them to spend it on the right player. Mitch Marner is a great player, a world-class point producer, but he's not a center. He doesn't score in the playoffs, and he doesn't play physical. Add him, but you better add something else up front, preferably in the middle, otherwise it won't work.
The Adam Gold Show, weekdays starting at noon on 99.9 The Fan.
It's bow time. Something new just dropped at Bojangles. Take the bold taste of a crispy golden chicken supreme that's been seasoned to perfection, then add dill pickles, Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, and a toasted bun that's great on the go. What do you get? You get a Bo's Bird Dog. In fact, you can grab 2 of them for $5. So when you're on the go, headed to practice, or need a snack, grab a Bo's Bird Dog. Hurry in before they're gone. Available for a limited time. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time, but sometimes it's go time. No time to stop, but the perfect time for a Bojangles Bird Dog. A seasoned to perfection Bojangles Chicken Supremes, dill pickles, and Carolina Gold barbecue sauce, all tucked inside a toasted bun. Great on the go. Try 2 Bird Dogs for just $5 or 2 Bird Dog Combo for just $8.25. Available for limited time only. When you're hungry for flavor and value, it's bow time.
And we're back talking all things connectivity with Spectrum customers Kev and Melissa. So tell us, how long have you been with Spectrum and how important is a reliable internet connection?
We've been Spectrum customers since we moved 12 years ago. The first thing we did is sign up for Spectrum Internet.
You get a lease, you get it Wi-Fi.
Yes,
immediately.
We need that. We had Spectrum Wi-Fi before our couch got here.
That's true. That's a true story.
I'll sleep on the floor, but I won't go to bed with no internet.
You heard it here. Switch to Spectrum now.
It's the Canes Free Agent Frenzy, driven by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Lillington.
To Sanheim, taken away by Miller. Keandre Miller breaks in, he's tripped, goes to the net, and scores! What a goal!
All right, breaking news, folks. Graham hit the breaking news sounder because someone's coming to Carolina, it looks like. This according to Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet up there in Canada. He posted this about 10 minutes ago. We were in the middle of doing the numbers game. Elliot Friedman said an update on the potential New York Rangers sending Keandre Miller, the defenseman, to the Carolina Hurricanes, something that he reported about nearly 5 hours ago. 10 minutes ago, Elliot Friedman, hearing this will be a sign and trade between the Rangers and the Hurricanes. The Keandre Miller contract will come in at 8 years, $60 million. So that's 8 years at $7.5 million a year. The reason why you're doing a sign and trade, Graham, is because his rights are with the New York Rangers, he can get the 8th year on his contract. So that's the reason for a sign and trade. Now, what's the trade compensation going back? If it's equivalent to what an offer sheet compensation will be, $7.5 million, Graham, falls in the category along the lines of a first, second, and third round pick going back the other way. Now, that's not confirmed yet, but if they're falling along the lines of what Elliot Friedman reported earlier about draft pick compensation going back to the New York Rangers, you're looking at a first, a second, and a third round pick potentially going back to the New York Rangers for Keandre Miller. Again, we'll wait and see what the compensation is completely, but that's what it's looking like, Graham.
I just love how we start off the show like just waiting. It was supposed to be an Eric Tulsky press conference at 3 o'clock. Then it was told that it was going to be pushed back 1 to 2 hours, but it was worth it. It was worth it because Eric Tulsky cooked once again.
Yeah, Eric Tulsky putting in some work. So again, if you just missed it, Elliot Friedman reported that it looks like it is a sign and trade between the Carolina Hurricanes for Keandre Miller, the defenseman from the New York Rangers. Miller's contract will come in at 8 years, $60 million. So that's 8 years, $7.5 million a year, which Carolina would then have, if that's true, you're looking at having him signed through the 2033 season, which is when Jacob Slavin's contract ends. Because, Graham, remember, Jacob Slavin's contract extension that he signed last offseason kicks in starting this year. Jacob Slavin is signed all the way through 2033. So his 8-year extension kicks in. So that's what you're looking at. 8 years. That's going to take you all the way through the 2032-2033 season for a player that's 25 years old in Keandre Miller. Again, 25-year-old Keandre Miller, the defenseman, by all accounts, is going to Carolina from the New York Rangers. So if you look at, $7.5 million coming off the salary cap for the Carolina Hurricanes, that still gives them roughly around $18 million in cap space, Graham. Roughly $18 million in cap space. So Carolina needed a defenseman after Brent Burns, free agent, Dmitry Orlov, free agent, Alexander Nikishin should step into one of those roles this upcoming season. But then you also factor in Brent Burns being gone. Now you got younger and bigger on defense. Because Dmitry Orlov, 33 years old. Brent Burns now 40 years old. But now you have Alexander Nikishin, 23, 24 years old. You have Keandre Miller, 25 years old, coming in. So you got younger. Now you've got control over Keandre Miller for the next 8 years, it appears. This is a big-time acquisition by the Carolina Hurricanes, Graham.
And with Miller, you get another defenseman that has the ability to score. It can also pinch on the attack, but also you're okay with him moving up that far up the ice because he can get back. I mean, my question is, does this make up for them not getting Aaron Ekblad yesterday? Like, were we just completely, that's just in the rearview mirror? Yeah. Welcome to Carolina, Keandre Miller.
So that's the big thing, is that there are a couple question marks down here going forward. Where does he slot in the lineup? Now, if he's if he's on your second defensive pair alongside Jalen Chatfield, I absolutely love it. But the question is, who plays alongside Jacob Slavin? Do you have Alexander Nikishin play alongside Shane Gostisbehere? Does Sean Walker play on that top pair? Because let's not forget, you still have Shane Gostisbehere under contract for 2 more years. Alexander Nikishin has a year left on his entry-level contract, then he's a restricted free agent. He's not going to go anywhere. Jalen Chatfield has 2 years left on his contract. Sean Walker has 4 years left on his deal. Don't forget, you have Scott Morrow still. So the fact that you're going and bringing in Keandre Miller for 8 years on a sign-and-trade with the New York Rangers, your entire defense is locked up not only this year, but for at least the next 2 years. At least that. So that's where you currently stand right now if you're the Carolina Hurricanes on defense. Now, what does necessarily this mean? It's people who don't know who Keandre Miller is as a player. Keandre Miller is 6'5", about 210 pounds. Obviously great length, great size, but is an excellent skater. He's great in terms of transitioning the puck from defense to offense. He's an offensive-minded defenseman. He's a pretty active stick. And also, he's super physical as well. Ryan Hinkle, who covers the Carolina Hurricanes for the Hockey News, pointed out that over the last 4 years, Keandre Miller had more hits than any Hurricanes defenseman in every season over the last 4 years. So you're adding physicality as well. So physicality, great transition skills, active with the stick, great offensive mind, can score a little bit, and an absolutely great skater. Yeah, that's what Carolina Hurricanes want in their players, especially among their blue line. And this team does need more offense from their blue line. You didn't get a whole lot of it from Brent Burns. You didn't get much of it from Dmitry Orlov. Sean Walker, I think, when he started getting a little bit more ice time, you saw him actually contributing a little bit more on the offensive side of things. But he was playing with an offensive-minded guy like Shane Gostisbehere. So this team does need a little bit of an offensive scoring punch. Maybe Alexander Nikishin could possibly provide some of that too. Now, there are some concerns in you, hopefully, with coaching and continued development and being a part of the Kane system, that some of the things that has plagued Keandre Miller a little bit early on in his career, as again, still developing. Some things like defending off the rush, some gap control, things along those lines. But again, with coaching and being in the Kane system where he can actually fully utilize his skill set, then yeah, he could possibly flourish. Don't forget a few years ago, it was about 5 years ago when the Carolina Hurricanes traded for Brady Shea. It's about 5 years ago when they did that. I think it was 2020, 2021. So it was about 5 years ago they traded for Brady Shea. They gave up a first-round pick to the New York Rangers, a player who could skate really well, had some offensive upside, but kind of have fallen out of favor a little bit in New York. And there were some questions about, well, how well could he actually play defensively? There were some questions about that with Brady Shea. Sure enough, he comes to the Carolina Hurricanes, and Brady Shea was good in this system, really good in this system.
Was one of the top producing defensemen in the playoffs, too, during those runs.
Yeah. Played for like 17, 18 goals. And sure enough, that turned into a massive contract last offseason with the Nashville Predators for Brady Shea. So by all accounts, but it looks like from Elliot Friedman, by the reports, in case you just missed it, as we have the free agent frenzy continues here on 99.9 The Fan, presented by John Heister Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram out there in Lillington. Elliot Friedman reporting, hearing that it would be a sign and trade between the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes for Keandre Miller. Miller's contract will come in at $8 million. 8 years, $60 million total contract. So you're looking at $7.5 million per year. And I actually had someone respond to me on Twitter saying, is that higher than Jacob Slavin? Yeah, that's higher than Jacob Slavin. Now, Jacob Slavin's contract does have a little bit of deferred money in it, so that the cap hit isn't quite as high, but the Jacob Slavin contract that's kicking in this upcoming year is an absolute steal. An absolute steal. So guess what? You can afford to pay Keandre Miller this.
Well,
you can afford it easily. They still have about $18 million in cap space. Now, granted, next year, next offseason, the cap's going to jump up at about $9 million. So you don't have to worry about this being a quote-unquote overpay. You really don't. Because then that $9 million, gosh, that could turn into Alexander Nikishin on a per-year basis, possibly. And then, obviously, next year's Logan Stankoven contract kicks in and things like that. But this team, everyone that is currently on the Carolina Hurricanes roster, with the exception of a couple of players, is under contract for at least the next 2 seasons. At least their rights are controlled by the Hurricanes for the next couple of seasons. This team is pretty locked, and they still have a bunch of cap space if they still wanted to make a trade, whether this offseason or next year, or at the trade deadline. This team has set himself for it. I'll say this flat out. Keandre Miller on this team, this defensive group is better than what we saw last year. With Keandre Miller and Alexander Nikishin coming in for Brent Burns and Dmitry Orlov, this group of blue liners as a whole is better than what we saw last season. It just is. It's younger, it's faster, it's more physical, and has more offensive upside. Now, there's still going to be some growing pains. There's still going to be some growing pains for Alexander Nikishin learning how to play in North America. There's going to still be some growing pains with Keandre Miller. Again, he's still a young player, 25 years old, much like Scott Morrow is still a young player. But let's keep this in mind. This defense right now, this team right now, with Nikishin coming in to be a full-time player and Keandre Miller, it's a better team. It is a better team than what it was a year ago.
A little more aggressive, too.
Yeah, it's going to be more physical. It's going to be faster. I mean, it's just simply, it's a bigger team, especially on the blue line. They got more physical. Again, with Nikishin and Keandre Miller, you got more physical, you got faster, you got younger, you got more offensive upside. The blue line is better. I'll flat out say it. Now, again, there are going to be mistakes. There's going to be growing pains. It takes a while for defensemen to learn how to play in this system. We even saw it with Brent Burns. It took him about 20, 25 games. That guy is going to be a Hall of Famer, and it took him a while to adjust to this Kane system a few years ago. It's going to take a little bit of time.
As Andy McCudden put, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce his last name, put in YouTube group chat or YouTube live chat, this is the kind of guy you need to compete with Florida, especially in the division.
Yeah. By the way, the Canes did sign a seventh defenseman, Mike Riley, 1 year, $1.1 million, just a depth defenseman. That's really what it is. By the way, this hour of the drive brought to you by Newcomb & Company, where your comfort is their business. Visit newcombandcompany.com. Free agent frenzy here on 99.9 The Fan. The big news, looks like Keandre Miller is going to be joining the Carolina Hurricanes on a sign and trade with the New York Rangers, the defenseman. 8 years, $60 million contract. We'll have more for you tomorrow here on 99.9 The Fan. We'll see you tomorrow.